Chapter 899. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. This ice is not as thick as the ice on the ice field. It can be passed from above. Gu Jiao frowned. Then we can only go by land. But can we make it in time? Whatever. We have to go whether we can make it in time or not. She paused and said, ask someone from the Shadow Division to come here. Yes. When Ren Chong answered. Most of the members of the Shadow Division went to the Jin Kingdom with Liaochen, so there were not many people left in the camp. The shadow guard called by Wen Ren Chong was Xinyang. He was specially arranged by Liaochen in the camp, so that Gu Jiao could contact him. Xinyang bowed to Gu Jiao. Young Commander. Everyone in the camp called her Young Commander. At first, she didn't understand and thought it was a problem with the accent. Later, when she found out, it was too late to change it. So she just let them be. Gu Jiao asked, the Shadow Division has been in the Zhao Kingdom. Are there any hidden sentries along the way? Yes, there are people from the Shadow Division near every post station. Young Commander, do you want to find out something? I want to send something to the capital of the Zhao Kingdom as soon as possible. The capital of the Zhao Kingdom? Xinyang came to the table and looked at the map on the table. He pointed and said, the fastest way is to go by water from the port of the Tong continent. Unfortunately, the Bay of the Tong continent froze last night. We can only go by Yinzhou. The Bay of Yinzhou hasn't frozen yet, but judging by the weather, it will freeze soon. Gu Jiao murmured. You mean we have to get on the ship before the Bay of Yinzhou freezes? Xinyang nodded. Yes. The water near the port is shallow and slow, so it's easy to freeze. It's not so fast in the center of the river. Gu Jiao said seriously, I know. I'll go to Yinzhou now. It was 300 miles from here to Yinzhou. In such bad weather, it would be more difficult to travel. She had to choose the most suitable horse. The Black Wind King seemed to have sensed something and came to the entrance of the tent without hesitation. However, she could not ride the Black Wind King anymore. Ever since the Black Wind King came to the border, it had been through many battles, big and little sure. Especially in the battle to take down the south gate of Pu City, it was severely injured. After that, it did not immediately rest. Instead, it fought alongside her for a long time. She could not risk it again. Gu Jiao went to the stable. The Black Wind Cavalry was the earliest and most elite force in the Xianyuan army. However, before the reinforcements arrived, this force had fought too many battles and was covered in wounds. A warhorse in its prime needed rest. But the moment Gu Jiao walked in, all the warhorses immediately went into battle mode. They could still fight. Gu Jiao clenched her fists. Young Commander. Wen Ren Chong brought over a 10-year-old warhorse. Let's choose this one. It only fought in a battle and suffered some minor injuries. But it has already recovered. Gu Jiao asked, are there any horses that have not been injured? Wen Ren Chong said, yes, they have all gone to the front line. Otherwise, there are the young Black Wind Cavalry who are transporting the provisions. At this moment, a 3-year-old Black Wind Cavalry galloped over. It jumped in front of Gu Jiao a few times, as if it was showing off its strength to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao recognized it. It was the Black Wind Cavalry that fell into the waterfall when crossing the mountain range. The Black Wind King saved it in time, but the provisions on its back were gone. It was depressed until Gu Jiao put the herbs she picked on its back. It seems to have grown a lot in just 2 months. Gu Jiao checked its body and found that it was very strong. Although it was only 3 years old, its muscles were full of explosive strength. Little Black Wind Cavalry, it's up to you whether we can send the antidote to the ship before the ice freezes. The 300 miles to Yinzhou, the Black Wind Cavalry ran as fast as it could. The winter was very cold. It was snowing everywhere. The road was dangerous and difficult. The Black Wind Cavalry almost split several times. Its hair was standing on end, but it was not afraid. It did not flinch. It did not even slow down. Facing the whistling cold wind, it galloped on the endless official road as if it was about to fly. In terms of quality, it was not the best. The best quality horses that Gu Jiao had seen so far were the Black Wind King and Little Shi. However, this Black Wind cavalry had an unyielding will and an unyielding fighting spirit. Along the way, both of them fell. Without saying anything, the Black Wind cavalry got up and continued. It carried Gu Jiao and continued to gallop. In the wind and snow, it was its king. Even if the Black Wind King was not injured, it would still be a bit difficult to run for 300 miles in the wind and snow. The Black Wind cavalry's physical strength was gradually exhausted. Gu Jiao's hands were already frozen stiff. Her cheeks and lips were numb. She could not even speak clearly. Little Black Wind cavalry, hold on a little longer. We're almost at Yinzhou. The Black Wind cavalry panted and gritted its teeth. It stood up and ran to the gate tower of Yinzhou like an arrow. On the 10th day of the 12th lunar month, it snowed all night in the capital of Zhao country. When Eugene got up before dawn, she almost could not open the door. Why is the snow so heavy? It's blocking the door. Someone, she called. A servant came over with a shovel. She shoveled the ice and snow in front of her door and opened the door for her. I was just about to shovel the snow. I didn't expect you to get up so early. Eugene did not mean to blame her. It was true that she got up early. She looked at the direction of the south and asked softly, "Is the young master up?" The servant said, "I don't think so. I didn't hear anything." Eugene nodded. "I know. Go do your thing." Okay. The servant went to sweep the snow in the yard. Her movements were very light and did not disturb anyone. In the south room, Sheng Guanqing woke up early. Last night, the mother and son talked until late into the night. After midnight, Princess Xinyang could not resist the sleepiness of pregnancy and fell asleep. Sheng Guanqing did not take the antidote from the state preceptor hall. Suffering from the poison in his body, he could not close his eyes for even a moment. Of course, he did not want to close his eyes. He quietly looked at Princess Xinyang beside him. This was his mother, the woman who had brought him to this world after being pregnant for 10 months and walking through the gates of hell. She was very gentle. Although she might be very strict, he did not have the chance to feel it, did he? It was almost dawn. His increasingly uncomfortable body reminded him that he had to leave here as soon as possible. It's faster than I thought. On the way here, he thought there were 3 more days. At dinner, he faintly felt that there was only 1 day left. But now, he covered his heart. It was going to explode. He could not breathe. "Brother." Xiaoheng's low voice came from outside the door. Sheng Guanqing wanted to answer him, but he was afraid to wake Princess Xinyang. "I'm coming in," Xiaoheng said. The door was pushed open and Xiaoheng walked in. He saw Sheng Guanqing sitting at the head of the bed in a cold sweat. His face was unbelievably pale, his lips were black, and his whole body was trembling. Xiaoheng's eyes darkened. He strode forward and hugged Sheng Guanqing, who was falling from the head of the bed. Sheng Guanqing lay in his arms and said weakly, "Take me away." Xiaoheng held him and looked at Princess Xinyang, who was lying on the bed with her eyes open and biting her fingers to prevent herself from crying out loud. His throat moved with difficulty. "Okay, I'll take you away." Xiaoheng helped Sheng Guanqing up and put his hand on his neck. He walked step by step toward the door. The moment he crossed the threshold, Sheng Guanqing's body went soft and he slid down. Xiaoheng hurriedly hugged him. "Brother." Qing all of Princess Xinyang's strength was shattered by this fall. She could no longer agree to his request. She didn't want him to die outside. She didn't want him to become a cold corpse in a deserted place. She rushed over and knelt on the ground to hug Sheng Guanqing, who was lifeless like a puppet. "Qing, don't go. Don't leave mother. Don't. Hot tears splashed on his cheeks and fell into his eyes. A tear slid down from his eye. "Mother, I'm sorry. I can't be your son anymore. I don't regret being born by you. Thank you for bringing me into this world. The human world is so good. I like it very much." Princess Xinyang hugged her son tightly. She felt that she was losing him. Her heart was broken, and her tears fell uncontrollably. Qing Xiaoheng turned around. His eyes were red and swollen. Yujin stood outside the door. She covered her mouth tightly, but she couldn't hold back the tears in her eyes. Why was God so cruel? The princess had only been reunited with the young master for a day, but she lost him again. How many times did the princess have to go through the pain of losing her son? Yujin cried sorrowfully. The servants in the courtyard all turned their faces away to secretly wipe their tears. There was nothing crueler in the world than this. Clang. The door of the courtyard was kicked open. Because the force was too great, the whole door fell on the bonsai planted by Princess Xinyang. Just as the servants were about to shout, the travel-worn man walked in. Your Highness Zhang-Zhang-sun. And me taunts orders Xiao Little Commander Xiao Medicine to deliver my life. All the servants were stunned. What? What was this? The Shadow Division expert cleared his throat. Wrong. I'm here to deliver you the medicine under the orders of Commander Xiao. I was anxious and spoke carelessly. Give it to me quickly. Xiao Heng understood. He couldn't wait for the other party to deliver the medicine and walked over himself. The Shadow Division expert had seen his portrait and handed the medicine to him. There were a total of 2 bottles of medicine and a note. The note said, feed him the white fruit in the white jade bottle first. If he doesn't get better, feed him the brown pill in the jade bottle. The fruit is purple grass fruit, non-toxic. The brown pill comes from the roots of purple grass, highly toxic. It was Gu Jiao's note. Xiao Heng didn't have any doubts or hesitation. He rushed into the room, pried open his brother's mouth, and fed him the white fruit. Xiao Heng looked serious. He can't eat it. Let me do it. The Shadow Division expert rushed over and slapped Sheng Guanqing's chest. The fruit slid smoothly into his stomach. Princess Xinyang looked at the Shadow Division expert in surprise, and then turned to Xiao Heng. She asked in a daze, what did you feed your brother? Xiao Heng replied, Jiao Jiao sent someone to deliver medicine. It couldn't be called an antidote because it might not work. If it didn't work, then Sheng Guanqing would still have to take the purple grass poison. What 9 deaths? It should be 10,000 deaths. And who knew what side effects would happen to those who survived? Sheng Guanqing, you must get better. When you're well, I'll call you brother as many times as I want. The person in Princess Xinyang's arms didn't respond. Xiao Heng picked up the jade bottle with trembling hands. Next he could only try the purple grass poison. Hey. Knock, look. The Shadow Division expert pointed at Sheng Guanqing's finger. He moved. Both mother and son looked at his fingertip. Although it was very weak, he did move. The Shadow Division expert stared at his face and said, his glabella isn't as black as it used to be. Princess Xinyang looked at Xiao Heng with tears in her eyes. She sobbed and said, I don't understand what he said. Xiao Heng smiled for the first time in a month, as if relieved of a burden. He said that brother's glabella isn't black anymore. This is a sign that the poison in his body is gradually getting better. The purple grass fruit worked. He doesn't have to take the purple grass poison anymore. His emotions were tumbling in his chest. They were even more stormy than when Sheng Guanqing was dying. It was endless suppressed sadness, like an iceberg that couldn't be melted under the sun. At this moment, the iceberg cracked, and joy spurted out from the ground like lava. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were burning. It's really... He fell on the ground and raised his hand to wipe his red eyes, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The glabella stopped moving after it had faded to a certain extent. What's going on? Princess Xinyang's eyes were red, like a frightened child. And why hasn't Qing woken up yet? Not so fast. The Shadow Division expert said. The poison is too deep. It needs to be removed slowly. Do you have many fruits? Xiao Heng looked at the big bottle full of fruits. Yes, the Shadow Division expert said. That's enough. If I feed him this every day, Zong will wake up. Xiao Heng carried Sheng Guanqing back to the bed. If he doesn't wake up, I'll need more purple grass poison, he thought. An hour later, Sheng Guanqing's breathing was smoother than before. His face was still pale, but his brows, which had been tightly knitted because of the pain, had relaxed a lot. This meant that his discomfort had been greatly alleviated. Xiao Heng guessed that he was still unconscious, not because the poison in his body hadn't been removed, but because he had been tortured by the poison for too long and hadn't been able to sleep well. Now that he wasn't feeling so bad anymore, he fell asleep peacefully. Xiao Heng said to Princess Xinyang, who was sitting by the bed with difficulty. Mother, don't worry. This fruit is very effective. Brother will definitely recover. Yes. Princess Xingyang nodded with tears in her eyes. She could feel that Qing was returning to her side. The joy of regaining what she had lost was indescribable. She had already lost Qing once. If she lost him a second time, she knew that she wouldn't be able to live. Her throat was hoarse from crying, and her eyes were swollen. She was in a terrible state. It was inevitable that she would be rude to receive a guest like this. She said to Xiaoheng, "Go thank that expert on behalf of Mother." Just now, Mother only cared about being sad and neglected his injuries. His face seems to have been disfigured. In a while, the imperial physician will come and take a look at him. Okay. His mother was really meticulous. She was so sad, but her observation skills weren't affected. She just couldn't react at that time. When she calmed down, she could sense that something was wrong. This was a very rare and valuable ability. The master of the Shadow Division was waiting in the corridor. He had to go back to report in a while, and needed to know Shang Guanqing's specific condition. Xiaoheng went out of the room and saluted him. "Thank you very much for today. I haven't asked your name yet." The master of the Shadow Division scratched his head. "I'm sorry for breaking your door." Xiaoheng smiled. "It's okay. You're injured. Go to the flower hall first. The imperial physician will be here soon." Yujin had already gone to invite the imperial physician. First, to check on Shang Guanqing's recovery. Second, to check on the guest's injuries. The master of the Shadow Division waved his hand. "I'm fine. My name is Gao Chong. Gao Chong as in martial arts. Your Highness, about the patient's condition. I have to report back." Gu Jiao didn't say who he was delivering the medicine to. The people of the Shadow Division were only responsible for carrying out the task and wouldn't ask about it. He said seriously, "You called him brother." "I didn't hear it." Xiaoheng smiled. It didn't matter if he heard it. After going through so many things, he suddenly felt that it didn't matter whether he hid the identity of the two brothers or not. He said, "Why don't you wait for the imperial physician to come first? After hearing his specific diagnosis, you can go back to report." Gao Chong thought about it seriously and nodded. "Yes." Xiaoheng looked out of the courtyard and asked, "By the way, didn't my father come back with you?" "You have a father?" Gao Chong thought that the eldest grandson of the Yan dynasty had a father. He hadn't heard of it for so many years. He answered, "Not at all. I came here alone. Before me, there was also a person who brought you here. I didn't see you, father." Strange, the antidote is such an important thing. Why would he ask someone else to do it? The more Xiaoheng thought about it, the stranger he felt. It wasn't that the people of the Shadow Division were unreliable, but this didn't conform to his father's temperament. Inside the room, Princess Xingyang was wiping the sweat on Shang Guanqing's forehead with a handkerchief. When she heard this, her movements paused. Gao Chong suddenly slapped himself on the forehead. "Ah, I remember. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise I would have forgotten. There was also a letter that came with you." He took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to Xiaoheng. Xiaoheng originally thought that it was a letter from Gu Jiao, but when he opened it, he found that it was Long Yi's handwriting. Long Yi used a charcoal pen to draw a glacier. Under the glacier was a man whose hands were full of blood, and whose bones were visible. Xiaoheng's heart was suddenly grasped by a big hand. What happened? Princess Xingyang walked out. Xiaoheng stealthily hid the drawing behind his back. Looking at his haggard mother who was about to give birth, he clenched his fists and endured. "Nothing." Princess Xingyang looked at Gao Chong. Gao Chong didn't understand and honestly said, "Oh, it's the person who went to Origin Ice to look for you medicine. He died and can't come back." Princess Xingyang's expression stiffened. Digression. Marquis Xianping biting a cigarette. "Cry for me, and I will come back to see you." Xingyang. Slap Fury JPG. JPG. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1051555979. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 900. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. What did you say? Who died? She asked calmly. Gao Chang was about to speak when he suddenly noticed that the atmosphere was not right. He scratched his head in a daze. Did I say something wrong? What do you think? Xiao Heng knew that with his mother's intelligence, there was an 80% chance that he wouldn't be able to hide it anymore. He looked at his mother's bulging belly that could give birth at any time, and was really worried that it would affect the fetus. He said earnestly, I haven't figured it out yet. I'll deal with it. Mother, go inside and rest for a while. I'll tell you after I've sorted it out. Princess Xinyang sternly said, No, I'm fine. You guys go ahead. This. Gao Chang scratched his head, leaned close to Xiao Heng and whispered, Should I say it or not? Xiao Heng let out a long sigh. You say it. At this point, there was no point in keeping his mouth shut any longer. Oh, Gao Chang said, then asked embarrassedly, What do I want to say? Who died? Princess Xinyang reminded him. Gao Chang suddenly realized. For his talking about General Xiao is dead. Where did you hear the news? Xiao Heng asked. Although he already had Long Yi's painting, Xiao Heng still prayed that there would be a trace of a miracle. Perhaps there was a mistake. That person might not be his father. Gao Chang explained the ins and outs of the matter. Marquis Xianping sneaked into the Yan country. He didn't have a proper Yan country travel permit. In order to avoid unnecessary disputes and misunderstandings, Marquis Xianping, Tang Yueshan, and the old Marquis used the identity of the Crown Princess's aide. Among them, Marquis Xianping was also appointed as a general by Shang Guanyan. His sudden disappearance naturally made some people suspicious. Shang Guanyan announced that he went to look for medicine for His Highness Ghost King in Ghost Mountain. The Ghost Army was an army formed by the people. They protected many local people from the Jin army. Everyone was very friendly to the leader of the Ghost Army. Hearing that he was looking for medicine for him, everyone was looking forward to General Zhao's early return. Who would have thought that after a month, there was still no news of General Zhao's safe return? Instead, the junior commander of the Black Wind Cavalry sent the masters of the Shadow Division to the ice field to salvage the corpses. It was said that General Xiao had successfully brought the medicine back from the other side of the ice field and handed it to his companions. However, he did not manage to leave the ice field alive. Hearing this, both mother and son fell silent. No one had expected such an outcome. A living person had suddenly disappeared from their lives. No one dared to believe that this was true. Gao Chang asked, That person just now? His Highness, the fourth Ghost King, right? As he spoke, he glanced at the mother and son and hurriedly said, I didn't ask anything. Don't ask anything. Xiao Heng felt as if his heart was being gripped tightly by a big hand. He wanted Shang Guanqing to live, but he didn't want his father to sacrifice his life for this. In the past, the father and son did not know how to get along with each other. When they finally understood, they did not have the chance anymore. He clenched his fists and his eyes turned red. Why did it turn out like this? Gao Chang panicked. I don't know why it turned out like this. If I had known, I wouldn't have said so much. Was it too late to regret now? Why did he feel that he had made a big mistake? Would his master punish him when he returned? He would lose his monthly allowance for this month again. Then, Gao Chang felt that he had to disappear immediately. Otherwise, he might not be able to leave alive. At this moment, the craftsman who repaired the door came over. His eyes lit up. I'll repair the door that I broke. I'll fix it myself. After running 2 steps, he turned back and said resentfully, Young, my condolences. The feeling of losing his father was not much better than losing his brother. Xiao Heng controlled his tears and did not let them fall. He had lost his father. Unlike his angry words in the past, this time, he had really lost his father. When Eugene invited the imperial physician over, Gao Chong was helping the craftsman repair the courtyard door that he had kicked down. Xiao Heng was no longer there. Eugene sensitively sensed that the atmosphere in the residence was not right. She wanted to ask what had happened, but the servants all avoided her gaze. She looked at Gao Chong. This time, Gao Chong did not dare to speak carelessly. He avoided her gaze and waved his hand. "Don't ask me, I won't say. I don't know anything," she muttered. Did something happen to the young master? Her first reaction was that Shang Guanqing's condition had worsened. After all, other than this, she could not think of anything else that could make everyone panic like this. She hurriedly led the imperial physician to Shang Guanqing's room. The furnishings in the room had not changed, but the moment she stepped in, the atmosphere inside was so heavy that it was suffocating. Eugene frowned and unconsciously tightened her grip on the handkerchief in her hand. She stepped over the threshold and walked towards Shang Guanqing's bed. "Princess." Princess Xinyang sat on the stool in front of the bed with her back facing the door. Her back was as straight as ever, but her back looked somewhat sorrowful. Could it be that something had really happened to the young master? Imperial physician. She turned around and urged the imperial physician. The imperial physician carried his medicine box and stepped over the threshold. He arrived behind Princess Xinyang and first bowed to her. This lowly official greets the princess. Princess Xinyang responded indifferently after a long while. "Take Qing'er's pulse." Eugene looked worriedly at the expressionless princess and moved to the side to make it easier for the imperial physician to take his pulse. The imperial physician carefully examined Shang Guanqing and bowed. "Princess, the young master seems to have been poisoned. But from his pulse, his life is not in danger for the time being." If his life was not in danger, then the antidote had taken effect. Why did the princess still look unhappy? The imperial physician did not dare to ask who the young man who was so cherished by Princess Xinyang was. He only vaguely felt that the other party's appearance was somewhat familiar. He said, "The young master can continue to take the antidote. I will prescribe a nourishing prescription for him." "Thank you for your trouble," Princess Xinyang said. The imperial physician took his medicine box and retreated. Eugene left the door ajar and returned to the side of Princess Xinyang. She asked strangely, "Princess, what happened? Why is everyone so strange?" "Xiaoji is dead," Princess Xinyang said. Her tone was very calm, as if she was talking about something unrelated to herself. But whether her heart was as still as water or not, only she knew. Having heard this, Eugene was startled. "Princess, who did you hear this from? Did you make a mistake? Didn't Marquis go to find the antidote for the young master? He even found the antidote. He can't come back," Princess Xinyang said. She had already seen Long Yi's painting. She was familiar with the geography of various countries. Naturally, she knew what kind of place origin ice was. The cold winter origin ice was a purgatory of icebergs. It was a natural mode of death that no one could cross. She could not imagine what kind of willpower he used to bring the antidote back from the blizzard. Eugene squatted down and held the hand of Princess Xinyang. She looked up at her and said, "Princess." Princess Xinyang muttered, "I once wanted to get rid of this man, but I didn't think it would be in this manner." Eugene's nose twitched. "Princess." Princess Xinyang was very calm. "Birth, old age, illness and death are common, but he died too quickly." Eugene gripped her master's hand in distress. "Princess, if you are sad, just cry it out. Crying will make you feel better." Princess Xinyang said, "I am not sad for myself. I am sad for the 3 children. When I was raising Aheng, I always felt that there was no difference whether Aheng had a father or not. Either way, he was in the military all year round and never came back. Wasn't that because you didn't let him come to the Princess Manor?" Eugene choked with sobs. "I saw Marquis ride past the Princess Manor many times." Princess Xinyang did not deny that she did not like Marquis Xianping, but she had her reasons. He always made Aheng cry. The number of times Ahing saw him each month could be counted on one hand. I often felt that this father was dispensable. But when this person really was gone, only then did I know. It was different. Eugene said sadly. In the past, Marquis did not appear in front of you, but he did not go far. He was always secretly protecting you and the young Marquis. As long as you and the young Marquis turned around, he was always there. But this time he really is no longer there. No matter how many times she turned around, that man would no longer wait for her in the same place. When His Majesty said that he would be betrothing me to him, I thought that my nightmare had come. You know that his reputation is not good. His martial arts are high, and his personality is strong. I don't care about his reputation. I am just a chess piece to win over powerful officials. Does it not matter who I marry? But I cannot get close to men. If it was someone else, perhaps it would be easier to control. But Marquis Xianping, that young man in bright clothes and riding on a horse, had achieved great military achievements at a young age. He was so powerful that the entire imperial family feared him. Although I am a princess, how can I not allow my husband to touch me on the night of my wedding? I was prepared to be humiliated by him. I was young at that time and my personality was not like it is now. I even had the impulsiveness of a young man. Because of this, I even thought that if I really could not take the humiliation, I would just kill myself. The dagger that was pressed against his chest was originally prepared for herself. She did not think that he would compromise. He returned to the room with the smell of alcohol. He walked unsteadily, but once the door was closed, he was completely sober. He softly said to her, "I'm not drunk, don't be afraid." She tightly gripped the dagger in her wide sleeve. He picked up the jade ruby on the table and lifted her veil. She clearly remembered his eyes at that time. They were filled with the purity and beauty of a young man. It did not seem to have anything to do with the rumored romantic and unruly. He was wearing a bright red wedding robe. His face was as delicate as jade, with the shyness and joy of a newlywed. He bent down and smiled at her. But what greeted him was a cold dagger that almost pierced his chest. "Don't touch me, otherwise I will kill you. The imperial order cannot be disobeyed. I have never thought of marrying you. We just need to maintain our status on the surface. There is no need to be husband and wife in reality. You can take in as many concubines as you want. I will not interfere. Of course, you should not interfere in my affairs. In the future, if you don't have my summons, you are not allowed to step into the princess's residence." She saw his clean and beautiful smile stiffen bit by bit, like a piece of finished jade that was completely shattered by her own hands. She felt the cold air on his body. She thought that he would take away her dagger, and then humiliate her. He did not. He only asked, "Qin Fengwan, are you serious?" After receiving an affirmative answer, he sneered and straightened up. He threw away the jade ruby in his hand, tore off the ribbon and red flowers on his body, and left the bridal room that was covered with the word happiness, without looking back. Their relationship as husband and wife had come to an end. She thought that this was also quite good. It was raining cats and dogs. Her carriage broke down halfway, and she was drenched. His army happened to pass by on the street. She turned around and did not look at him. She also did not want him to see her sorry state. But he still saw it. She thought that he would definitely ridicule her to get back at her from their wedding night. But he still did not. The young general got off the horse, took off his raincoat and handed it to her. She did not take it. She did not dare to touch anything that belonged to a man. He tilted his head and looked at her with a frown. He walked over and draped the raincoat over her body. That was the first time she was so close to a man since she grew up. Her face turned pale, and she even held her breath. "Go away. Don't touch me." She turned her face away and said coldly. She threw away the raincoat he draped over her. He was stunned for a moment, and a trace of astonishment flashed through his eyes. Soon he bent down and picked up the raincoat that was dirty in the mud. He got on the horse and left without saying a word. It was raining heavily, and Long Yi and the others were not here. The bodyguards repaired the carriage slowly, and she was almost frozen. Not long after, a brand new carriage came from the heavy rain and stopped in front of her. The coachman handed over an umbrella. "Madam, just now a young master asked us to pick you up." She always tried her best to avoid this man, but she always couldn't avoid bumping into him. Moreover, it was always in one of the few moments when she was in a sorry state. She took Xiao Heng to buy refreshments on the street. For year-old Xiao Heng got into trouble, so she acted like a spoiled child and asked Long Yi to take him away to take refuge. She took Eugene and walked on the crowded street. Because of the Triennial Lantern Festival, people from all over the country gathered in the capital city. She and Eugene were separated. She was pushed to the side and knocked over an old lady's stall. The old lady cried and shouted for her to compensate, but all the money was with Eugene. The old lady hugged her leg, and all the people around her cried. She stood there at a loss of what to do. She didn't know that her hair bun and clothing were already in a mess. Xiaolang, who is she? Upstairs, in soft fragrance pavilion, a gorgeously dressed woman was nestled up to him, calmly watching her make a fool of herself. "My wife," he said. The woman was startled. She then covered her face with a fan and laughed. "Is she that princess that you left in the cold in your residence? She doesn't seem to be much." She lowered her head and found that her clothing was a bit messy. She looked at the crowd rushing towards her. Seeing the malicious gazes of those men, she suddenly fell ill. Suddenly, a cloak tightly covered her. Someone pulled her hand and brought her out of the crowd. There were some things that one would not notice if one did not think about it carefully. Only after carefully thinking about it did one realize that they were not completely unrelated. She had seen his appearance when he practiced swordsmanship. She had seen his heroic appearance on horseback. He had also seen her most difficult situation that she could not tell others about. They met in the residence, on the street, and in the imperial palace. But they were strangers, ignoring each other. Princess Xianyang faintly said, "After King Liang died, my illness seemed to have gotten better." Eugene was shocked with tears in her eyes. "Princess," she held her stomach and stood up. "Ahing is going to prepare for the funeral. You should also go prepare." "Yes." Eugene wiped her tears and sadly retreated. The princess was too pitiful. She had become a widow at such a young age. What about the young duke? What about the young master? And what about the child that was about to be born? Eugene returned to the Marquis Manor to prepare for her Marquis funeral. The gate to the courtyard was repaired, and Gao Chang bid her farewell. She nodded and thanked him, telling him to take care of himself on the way. Snow began to fall from the sky once more. Large snowflakes silently fell. In this world, even grief was silent. The courtyard was extremely quiet. She walked in the snow, her shoes making squeaking sounds. Dong. Something slammed heavily against the courtyard door. She slightly furrowed her brow. The servants were all busy in the backyard. Nobody went to open the gate. She frowned and looked at the tightly shut gate. Hesitating for a moment, she still walked over. She pulled open the vermilion gate. The sound of wind suddenly came from the snowflakes. Goose feather-like snow flew towards her face. She subconsciously raised her hand to block it. When she looked towards the gate again, she did not see anything. Just as she was about to close the gate, she paused. She stepped over the threshold and looked towards West Street. There was still no one. Just then, a low laugh came from behind her. She turned around in a daze. In the midst of the snowstorm, a tall, travel-worn man was leaning lazily against the cold wall behind him with his arms crossed. His slender legs stepped on the snow in a cool manner. His body was covered in dried blood. His face was pale, and his breathing was weak. He tilted his head to look at her. His pale and handsome face was against the snow, and his bloodless lips pulled into an unruly smile. "Qin Fengwan, you look really ugly when you cry." Digression. Sorry, it's even later. This chapter is very difficult to write. I'm a sweet writer. Clenching my fist. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1051359599 HTML genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 901. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The light reflected off the snow illuminated the cold winter night. Behind him, there was a sudden warmth of reunion in the wind and snow. Princess Xinyang stared at him in a daze, momentarily forgetting to speak, until he chuckled again and said, "What? Are you so happy to see me that you can't speak?" Princess Xinyang restrained her surprise and frowned seriously, refuting his previous words. "I didn't cry." She had cried in the morning, but that was for Qing. She thought Qing was going to die. When she heard that he wouldn't come back, she didn't shed a single tear. Marquis Xianping raised his eyebrows and pointed at her heart, saying, "You cried in your heart. I heard it." Princess Xinyang's face darkened. She was finally sure that the person in front of her was real. He wasn't a ghost that couldn't disperse, nor was he someone's substitute. He was him, guaranteed to be the real deal. Marquis Xianping Xiaoji. Princess Xinyang turned her face away and whispered, "He's still asking for a beating." She shouldn't have felt sad for him. If the child didn't have a father, then so be it. Who would want such an indecent father? The baby in her belly moved. Princess Xinyang calmly tightened her cloak around herself. "Didn't you?" Princess Xinyang wanted to say, "Didn't you die?" But when the words reached her lips, she felt that it wasn't very auspicious to talk about death on New Year's Eve. So she changed her words. "Didn't you fall into the ice lake? How did you come back so quickly? You even know about this?" Marquis Xianping looked at her meaningfully. "You specially sent people to the border of Yan Kingdom to inquire about me?" Princess Xinyang's fist suddenly felt itchy. Marquis Xianping was frantically probing the edge of death. He said carelessly, "How long have I been gone? You're already so impatient." Princess Xinyang touched her belly, which was covered by the large cloak, and took a deep breath. "Can I beat him to death?" Honestly speaking, what happened that day was indeed dangerous. Half of his body was crushed under the collapsed glacier. The ice layer under his body could not withstand the pressure, and cracked little by little. The small box fell into the ice hole, and was taken away by the turbulent water. He told Long Yi that the thing in the small box could save Qin Fenghuan's son's life. He didn't say which son it was, but Long Yi most likely thought that it was Xiaoheng. He believed that Long Yi would choose Xiaoheng. But he seemed to have forgotten that only children make choices. Long Yi was a lord, moreover. His strength was beyond everyone's imagination. Under his command, the direwolf beside him jumped into the ice hole. After that, the direwolf chased after the small case, and Long Yi split open the glacier. It was not easy to accomplish this. First of all, that ice-field wolf had to withstand the sword chi of Long Yi. Secondly, that ice-field wolf had to deal with many dangers underwater. It was a direwolf that was even more powerful than the Spirit King of the Dark Night Island. She really didn't know where Long Yi had obtained it. At that time, he was seriously injured. After falling into the water, he quickly fainted. When he woke up, he was no longer in Origin Ice, but lying on a merchant ship heading to Zhao country. Long Yi was gone, and the small box was also gone. But he didn't panic. He believed that Long Yi had smoothly handed that thing to Gu Jiao. As for the matter of Long Yi drawing, he knew nothing about it. "You mean, Long Yi knew you were fine, but deliberately said you were dead?" Princess Xinyang expressed her disbelief. Long Yi was not so naughty. Marquis Xianping's situation was not good. His injuries were not good, and after getting off the ship, he madly rushed back. He was not sure whether the antidote was effective on his son or not. He prepared for the worst. If it was not effective, then no matter what, he had to rush back to see his son for the last time. "Qin Fenghuan, is Qing all right?" he asked with his usual tone, trying his best to hide his weakness. "The antidote seems to be effective. The imperial doctor said there is no danger to his life, but he still hasn't woken up." Princess Xinyang said this then paused. If you are worried, you can go in and take a look yourself. Marquis Xianping smiled. Okay, you go in first. I'll come in a moment. Princess Xinyang grabbed her cloak and turned around. She had just taken 2 steps when she stopped again. She turned back and looked at Marquis Xianping. You can't walk anymore, right? Marquis Xianping smiled. What? You want to help me? Princess Xinyang rolled her eyes. Who wants to help you? I'll go call someone. Just as she said this, she remembered something. In order to protect the safety of the unborn child in her belly, she had sent the dragon shadow guard to the fief. Gao Chong and the carpenter had already left, so there was no male in the residence. Ahing was also not there. Princess Xinyang hesitated for a moment, then called out to the rear courtyard. Cui or Granny Zhang, come over here. Yes, Princess. The maidservant Cui, and the housekeeper Granny Zhang quickly walked over. When the two saw Marquis Xianping covered in blood, they both screamed in fear. Ghost! Soon after, how could the two still care about the princess's orders, and ran away in a panic? The candles and paper money in their hands fell to the ground. There was also a white lantern with the word funeral written on it. The corner of Marquis Xianping's mouth twitched. Qin Fengwan, you aren't planning a funeral for this marquis, right? Did he come back in time for his own funeral? If he came back a little later, the coffin would have been prepared for him, and he would have just laid down in it. Wouldn't he have saved his clothes? Who knew that you were still alive? Princess Xinyang quietly muttered. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She told herself that he was the father of 3 children. She could not truly let him die here. She walked over and calmly reached out her hand. After hesitating for a moment, she moved her fingers and braced herself to support his arm. This was the first time she had taken the initiative to approach a man in a completely sober state. It still required a great deal of courage, and she was still not used to it, but she was not as scared as before. Marquis Xianping watched as she used 2 fingers to pinch the cloth on his arm. She was clearly very nervous but still emboldened herself. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Qin Fengwan, shut up. Princess Xinyang said sternly. If you keep talking nonsense, I won't help you. Marquis Xianping, you're not helping me. The 2 fingers only grabbed the material of his clothes, and didn't even touch the flesh of his arm. Princess Xinyang, who thought she had helped him, gave him a cold glare as if to say, I've already helped you. Why aren't you leaving? Men are so unreasonable. Thinking of her illness, Marquis Xianping also knew that it was not easy for her to take this step. Thus he stopped being unreasonable. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He straightened his stiff body and moved his almost numb feet, walking step by step toward the entrance of the courtyard. The moment he crossed the threshold, a gust of cold wind blew and blew Princess Xinyang's cloak away. Marquis Xianping subconsciously glanced at her from the corner of his eye. In the end he saw a bulging stomach. He was shocked, and his gaze landed on her stomach. Qin Fengwan. Princess Xinyang looked at her cloak and sucked in a breath of cold air. Marquis Xianping didn't leave. He narrowed his eyes and looked at her meaningfully. You're pregnant? What happened that time? It wasn't his fault that he didn't know. After their one-night stand, Princess Xinyang returned to live in this residence. At first, she went to Jade Water Alley to visit Xiaoheng and Gu Jiao. Later, the two went to the Yen Kingdom, so she stopped going to Jade Water Alley. He also moved back to Marquis Xianping's estate. She kept the news of her pregnancy a secret. He came to see her once during the war, but she refused to see him. Yujin said that the princess was in a bad mood because of Gui Shui. Gui Shui. Princess Xinyang didn't want to admit it, and stubbornly turned her face away. She also didn't understand what kind of luck she had. She used him as an antidote twice and fell for it both times. Marquis Xianping glanced at her with a faint smile. That's true. It was the whole night. Princess Xinyang's face flushed red. How could he say such shameless words? She knew he would be so shameless, so she didn't want to tell him. You really put in a lot of effort to get pregnant with my child. If he dared to say that, she would throw him out. Fortunately, Marquis Xianping didn't draw too much blood this time. He looked at her deeply, a hint of danger flashing through his eyes. Qin Fengwan, If I didn't come back in time, were you going to give birth to this child behind my back? Princess Xinyang's eyes flickered, and she raised her chin seriously. I see that you're very strong right now. You don't need me to help you. After saying that, she pulled her hand back and ignored Marquis Xianping. She walked towards her own room, but she had just taken a step when a strong contraction came from her stomach. She bent down and held her stomach, crying out in pain. Marquis Xianping's expression changed. Qin Fengwan, what's wrong? Could it be that I stimulated the fetus? Princess Xinyang had given birth before, so she wasn't unfamiliar with this feeling. She raised her hand and tightly grabbed his arm. I think I'm going to give birth. Digression. Marquis Xianping. Oh, the latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1051168337. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 902. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. It didn't happen earlier or later, but it just had to happen now. This child really knew how to make it in time. Princess Xianyang silently cursed in her heart. The immense pain drowned her, to the point that she didn't even have time to worry about her illness. Marquis Xianping did not ask for a beating at this critical juncture. He looked at her pained expression and forced himself to stay alert. He did not want to collapse at this crucial moment. When the previous children were born, he had been at the military camp. He only rushed back the next day after receiving the news. This was the first time he had encountered a woman in labor. Truthfully speaking, he had just returned and arrived at his own funeral. He had also arrived at Xianyang's pregnancy. Fortunately, she was about to give birth. Even crossing the icy plains was not as exciting. He muttered. What did you say? Princess Xianyang's mind was a mess from the pain. She did not clearly hear what he said. And nothing, he said. How did a woman give birth? Where's Eugene? He asked. Not here. She went to take care of your funeral. And Ahing? Not here either. She also went to take care of your funeral. Even some of the capable old grannies and maidservants had been sent out to purchase the items needed for the morning hall. Those that remained in the courtyard were all novices. Otherwise, they would not have run away in fear upon seeing Marquis Xianping's ghost. All right, I'm fine. Princess Xianyang let out a long sigh. Marquis Xianping was stunned once more. You're not giving birth? Princess Xianyang glared at him. What did he mean by not giving birth? It was just that the contractions had passed. The contractions came in waves. It was not like the pain was constant. I'm going back to my room. She let go of his arm and calmly said, I don't need you to support me. I can walk on my own. Oh. Marquis Xianping faintly withdrew his hand. Princess Xianyang looked at him and chuckled. You seem to be very disappointed. Marquis Xianping. When other people's wives give birth, they find someone to carry them in. At worst, they need to be supported in. My wife is giving birth, and I need to walk in on my own. Princess Xinyang snorted and walked towards the north wing of the rear wing. That was the delivery room that had been prepared beforehand. Just as she walked up the steps, she stopped moving. Marquis Xianping tilted his head and looked at her. Princess Xinyang gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Come here. Marquis Xianping raised his eyebrows and asked, What is it now? Didn't you want to leave by yourself? You don't need my help, do you? Princess Xinyang could guess what he was thinking even with her toes. Her outburst must have made him angry. Unfortunately, there was nothing here that could help her. She stood stiffly on the steps, not knowing whether to advance or retreat. My water broke, she said. The midwife repeatedly warned her not to move around after her water broke. She didn't know if all pregnant women were like this, or if it was because she was a princess that the midwife was extra careful. She didn't have that much experience, so she could only listen to the midwife. I can't leave. Go to the backyard and get someone. Before she could finish her words, a pair of strong arms wrapped around her back and knees, lifting her up horizontally. She was caught off guard and her head bumped into his sturdy chest. She froze slightly. The sky was filled with snow, and the night was long. Was this the feeling of being protected? Qin Fengwan. You've gained weight. Princess Xinyang's face darkened. No, this was the feeling of wanting to beat him to death. The contractions came again, even more intense than before. Princess Xinyang was in so much pain that she grabbed the front of his clothes. Marquis Xianping gasped. Now she knows how to pinch his flesh. But Qin Fengwan, where are you pinching? Although I don't need to feed the child, isn't pinching here a bit too much? Hiss. Another pinch and Marquis Xianping almost fell down from the pain. Princess Xinyang didn't know that she was pinching the wrong place. She was in so much pain. Her stomach hurt, her back hurt, and her waist hurt. She wasn't young anymore and wasn't as healthy as before. Marquis Xianping didn't know that there was a delivery room for women, so he carried her back to her room. Princess Xinyang gritted her teeth. Not this room. It's the north wing of the rear wing. Marquis Xianping chuckled. Why didn't you say so earlier? You just wanted me to. Princess Xinyang's hair stood on end, and she said fiercely, Shut up. Marquis Xianping glanced at her stomach and obediently shut his mouth. After entering the delivery room, Marquis Xianping gently placed her on the bed. I'll go get the doctor and midwife. Princess Xinyang grabbed the mattress under her and said, The midwife and wet nurse live on this street. Go out and walk east. You'll see the house with the ginkgo tree at the door. When she was only 8 months pregnant, Yujin had already found the midwife and wet nurse. They were all people who knew her well. Got it. Marquis Xianping answered. You. Princess Xinyang looked at him covered in blood and hesitated. She wanted to ask someone else to come over, but she had arranged for all the capable servants to prepare for his funeral. The remaining 2 servants were also scared away by him. Marquis Xianping stared at her. She turned her face away and changed her words. Don't be careless and mess things up. It's not my first time being a father. Do you think I'm nervous? You're still careless, huh? After he finished speaking, he sneered mockingly and walked out with his hands and feet. Just as he stepped over the threshold, he tripped and fell flat on his face. Princess Xinyang. In the end, Marquis Xianping managed to get the midwife and wet nurse. After Granny Zhang and Cui regained their senses, they returned dejectedly. Some of them boiled water, some of them boiled ginseng soup, and some of them delivered the baby. Marquis Xianping's physical strength was almost exhausted on the way here, and he used all his remaining strength to act cool in the snow. Princess Xinyang heard a heavy thud. It was the sound of him falling against the door, due to his lack of physical strength. But later, he forced himself up and leaned against the wall as if nothing had happened. He thought that after seeing Qin Fengwan and his son, he could fall down. But now a new little life was about to arrive. He stood in the cold snow, and goose feather-like snow silently fell on his shoulders. He heard Qin Fengwan's painful cries coming from the delivery room. She was a strong and proud woman. For her to cry like this, he didn't know how painful it must be. Princess Xinyang gave birth in the delivery room for an entire night. Marquis Xianping stood guard in the snow for an entire night. At 3 in the morning, a baby's cry came from the delivery room, cutting through the silent sky and startling the silent flying snow. Marquis Xianping, who was almost frozen to stone, walked up the stairs. When the baby was just born, the umbilical cord had to be cut, weighed, and swaddled before the baby could be carried out. Marquis Xianping didn't wait that long. He directly burst through the door and gave the midwife, who was weighing the baby, a big fright. Io! Why did the Marquis come in? The delivery room was a filthy place. It wasn't a place a man should enter. She moved very quickly. After weighing the baby, she wrapped him up and carried him out from behind the screen. She didn't know about Marquis Xianping's death, and only felt that Marquis Xianping's blood-soaked appearance was a little scary. But thinking that he was a general who had fought on the battlefield, she felt that it was nothing. "Is the princess well?" Marquis Xianping asked. The midwife was startled. She hadn't expected him to be concerned about an adult first. She smiled and said, "Don't worry, Marquis. The delivery process was very smooth. The princess is just a little tired. Everything else is fine." As she spoke, she smiled and handed the baby to Marquis Xianping. "Congratulations, Marquis. It's a daughter." "A daughter?" Marquis Xianping was stunned. He had too many sons. He had thought that this baby would also be a boy. Marquis Xianping suddenly didn't know what to do. He was even more nervous than the first time he saw Shang Guanqing. Crying so loudly. "Is it a girl?" The midwife smiled happily. Yes, the little girl's crying was really loud. After being a midwife for so many years, even a boy's voice wasn't as loud as hers. Marquis Xianping carefully took the baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. The crying baby stopped crying as soon as he was in his arms. He opened his eyes wide and quietly looked at him. Newborns didn't know how to see things, but the midwife inexplicably felt that the baby was looking at her father very seriously. She had delivered so many babies, but this was really the most beautiful one. Marquis Xianping looked at the baby in his arms, and endless emotions suddenly surged from the bottom of his heart. After fighting on the battlefield for so many years, even if he didn't fight, he would always inadvertently be tainted with a trace of murderous aura. He used his finger to touch the baby's little fist, and the baby squeezed it. His iron-blooded determination instantly melted into softness. It actually felt different from holding his son. He carried the baby around the screen and came to the bed. He looked at the sweaty and pale Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang also looked at him. She felt that she was too tired, so much so that she had an illusion. What she saw wasn't the unruly, murderous, and smiling tiger Marquis Xianping. Instead, it was the young Xiaoji who had lifted her veil with cleanliness and beauty on their wedding night. He held the baby in his arms, bent down, and whispered in her ear, "Qin Fengwan, it's been hard on you. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1051153325. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 903. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are available here. At 3 in the morning, the sky was still dark. The capital of Zhao country was shrouded in the light of the snow. Xiao Heng spent the entire night preparing for his father's funeral. First, he went into the palace to inform his grandaunt, uncle, and auntie. He was pulled by his auntie and wept bitterly for a long time. After that, he went to Jade Water Alley to inform his father and Yao Shi of his father's death. Then there was the matter of setting up the morning hall, where to set up the morning hall, and how to quickly gather the items needed for the morning hall. Although he could not salvage his father's body, he still needed a coffin. In the end, he went to a coffin shop and carefully selected a high-quality coffin. Great sorrow engulfed him. He was physically and mentally exhausted. Dragging his numb steps, he slowly returned home like a puppet that had lost its soul. Aunt Eugene also went out, right? She also worked the entire night, right? After all, the funeral of the #1 Marquis of Zhao country was not a small matter. On the other side, the #1 Marquis of Zhao country held the little fellow. He waited until Princess Xinyang was helped back to her room by the servants. After the mother and daughter both slept peacefully, he finally walked out of the room. All of his energy had been used up. He really couldn't move a single step. The father and son met without warning. One stood in the corridor, the other in the courtyard, facing each other, looking at each other from a distance. The sky was dark. The white lantern under the corridor had not been removed in time. Marquis Xianping stood under his own white lantern. His body was covered in blood and his face was deathly pale. Xiaoheng looked at his father in a daze. It's not even the 7th day yet, and you've already recovered your soul? Marquis Xianping. Laozi is not dead. Marquis Xianping's eyes went black and he fell down, plopping into the snow. He finally fell down. It was unknown whether he fainted from exhaustion or from anger at his son. In the end, Xiaoheng knew that it was not his father's ghost. After all, ghosts were not so weak. After all, with his father's personality, even if he became a ghost, he would be a cool, handsome, domineering, and the most beautiful ghost. That way he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. As for why his father had appeared here, he had no clue for the time being. His mother had fallen asleep, and his brother had never woken up, so he didn't know. Nanny Zhang and the others didn't know the ins and outs of the matter. They only knew that the Marquis came back at night. Not long after he returned, the princess went into labor. Nanny Zhang added her own compliments and thoughts. Miss has been unwilling to come out all this time. It turns out that she is waiting for her father. Xiaoheng. Xiaoheng carried his father to his room and helped him change into his own clothes. Then he went to visit his elder brother, his mother, and his newborn little sister. To be honest, Xiaoheng was also greatly affected. In a short period of 1 day and 1 night, he'd experienced the pain of losing his brother, the joy of regaining what he'd lost, the pain of losing his father, and the joy of regaining what he'd lost again. His mood rose and fell greatly, and it almost caused him to collapse. More importantly, his mother was in labor, just as he was about to attend his father's funeral. In other words, the moment he returned, he had a father and a younger sister. Is there such a huge difference? He looked at the baby girl sleeping soundly in the swaddling clothes and held his head with both hands, suddenly doubting life. In the 12th lunar month at the border, the war between the 5 kingdoms against the state of Jin intensified. Even the state of Liang was forced to join in, because if they did not help to attack the state of Jin, the 4 kingdoms of Yan, Zhao, Zhao, and Chen would attack them together. After losing Chu Feipeng, Liang lost its most powerful arm and had no choice but to cooperate with the 4 countries. As the hegemon of the 6 nations, Jin's state had unshakable national strength and military strength. It was arrogant, domineering, and insufferably arrogant. Apart from roping in the state of Liang to be its pawn, it had also caused a lot of trouble to the other nations. To this day, it refused to acknowledge the status of the Turks and still referred to them as a small barbarian race. Little did it know that the Turks didn't care about status at all. They attacked Jin purely because they didn't like Jin and didn't have enough resources during the winter, so they took advantage of the situation. After losing Gongsunyu, Jin was still able to resist for so long. It had to be said that they were indeed strong. However, no matter how strong they were, they couldn't resist the military strength of the 6 countries. Ironically, when they attacked the hinterland of the Jin state, the vanguard was actually the army of the state of Liang. Seeing their former ally baring his fangs at them, Jin's soldiers were so angry that their faces turned green. The Jin state, the Yan state, and the Liang state formed a triangle. Any alliance between the 2 states could cause a fatal blow to the other state. When choosing who to ally with, the Jin state had thought it through carefully. The reason why they chose the Liang nation was because the Jin nation disliked the Yan nation from the bottom of their hearts. As for the reason, it was because they were afraid of the Yan nation. They tried their best to suppress Yan, but in the end the nightmare still happened. Jin tried to persuade Liang, saying that with the military strength of the 2 countries, they might be able to resist them. Liang was already scared by the Black Wind cavalry, so how could he dare to play tricks behind their backs? It was the 12th lunar month at the border. This was their first New Year at the border. In the barracks, pigs and goats were slaughtered and dumplings were made. Shengguanyan, Gujiao, and the soldiers spent New Year's Eve in the flames of war. Will set off in 3 days. Outside the tent, Shengguanyan drank some wine and was slightly drunk. Her cheeks were flushed as she stood in the cold wind. Her mind was very clear. When she said this, her eyes fell on the soldiers who were celebrating the new year around the bonfire. Gu Jiao came to her side, followed her gaze and said, "Do you really want to go personally?" Shang Guanyan's eyes were cold as she said, "I want to take revenge for the blood feud of the Xianyuan family with my own hands. I must personally invade Shangjing and drag the Jin country's monarch down from his throne." Gong Sun Yu killed many soldiers of the Xianyuan family, because of his own selfishness and desire for war, but also because of the ambition of Jin's royal family. None of them were innocent. She wouldn't let any of them go. 3 days later, Chang Wei received the order to come back and defend Puqing. Gu Jiao exchanged positions with him. After that, Gu Jiao led the 30,000 Black Wind cavalry that had rested and reorganized. They rode on the Black Wind King who had just recovered from his serious injuries, and rushed to the front line with Shang Guanyan to kill their way into Jin. It was worth mentioning that on New Year's Eve, there was a rebellion in Jin's imperial palace. The monarch's imperial army and King Liao's army fought, which undoubtedly made Jin's situation worse. After King Liao was defeated, he had the idea of destroying what he couldn't get. He opened all kinds of checkpoints along the way to make it easier for the troops of other countries to enter. At the end of February, the Black Wind Cavalry and Gu family's Iron Cavalry attacked Shangjing of Jin. Black Wind King broke through the imperial palace's gate and slaughtered a bloody path through the imperial army. Shang Guanyan held a long sword and chopped down with her saber, splashing the enemy's blood all over her body. She killed all the way to the throne room. Their movements were so fast that the ministers in the morning court had no time to evacuate. The gate was tightly shut. Outside the room, there were sounds of fighting, weapons clashing, and screams. If one listened carefully, most of them came from the Jin army in the imperial palace. Inside the hall, all the ministers and generals began to tremble. Even the monarch of Jin who was sitting on the dragon throne had a change of expression. With a loud bang, the gate of the throne room was kicked open. The huge door couldn't withstand the pressure and heavily hit the ground. The entire throne room shook 3 times. The ministers were in a state of panic. Shang Guanyan held a bloody long sword. The blood on the sword's edge dripped all the way. Her eyes were cold and determined to take revenge. She glanced at the ministers and generals. Those who surrender will not be killed. A palace expert flew from the monarch's side and suddenly attacked Shang Guanyan. In the blink of an eye, behind Shang Guanyan came a whistling sound. A red tasseled spear with a cold glint flashed through the air. The spear pierced the heart of the palace's expert, sending him flying to the steps below the monarch's feet. Gu Jiao walked over step by step. Her eyes didn't have too much coldness and hostility. On the contrary, she was very calm, as if the person who attacked just now wasn't her. But in the flames of war, emotions were not terrible. Calmness was what was really frightening. Another person rushed up. This time he attacked Shang Guanyan from the back. Gu Jiao turned around and kicked the man down the high steps. Those who touched the crown princess die. Outside the hall, more and more experts rushed up. However, before they could get close, they were blocked by 4 figures from the sky. On the left was Gu Chongqing and the old marquis. On the right was Liao Chen and Qing Feng. Tang Yueshan and Wang Su, who had retreated from Qishui Pass, also arrived. The 2 of them led hundreds of archers and surrounded the throne room so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. At the end of February, the monarch of Jin state died and was succeeded by concubine Lu's 7th prince. The new monarch submitted a letter of surrender to the Great Yin. He also gave 2 mineral veins, 5 cities, 100,000 taels of gold, and 20 beauties to show his sincerity. The beauties were all men. They were mainly used to please Shang Guanyan and fill her harem. Of course, the other countries couldn't return empty-handed. They didn't get as many benefits as the Yen state. After all, the main force of the war against the Jin state was the Yen army. In addition, the Zhao state also contributed a lot and got a lot of things. After this war, the Jin state was almost emptied and couldn't recover its blood for decades. In the spring of March, the army returned to the capital. The Yen state won a beautiful victory. The people along the way welcomed them and shouted, "Long live the crown princess! Black Wind Cavalry and Xianyuan army, follow me to the capital." After returning to the Yen state, Shang Guanyan ordered in the tent. The Xianyuan army referred to the shadow division in Liao Chen's hands. Although Wang Su and Wang Man didn't know why the crown princess wanted to go first, they didn't dare to disobey the crown princess's order. What's more, Black Wind Cavalry and Xianyuan army were mostly cavalry. It seemed reasonable to go back to the capital first. Shang Guanyin didn't go back to report. Uncle. Outside the tent, Shang Guanyin looked at Xian Yuanqi, who was holding the 3-foot Qingfeng sword. I'm ready. Xian Yuanqi looked at his little niece with relief. He touched her head as an uncle, and then knelt down on one knee as a subject. The 3-foot Qingfeng sword was heavily inserted into the ground. This humble subject swears to follow the crown princess. On a big tree outside the camp, Liao Chen's slender fingers grabbed the wine bag. He raised his head and took a sip lazily. He smiled and said, You don't have to go. Go back to Chengdu with General Wang. Under the big tree, Daoist Qingfeng looked at him seriously. You want to leave me? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1050954424. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 904. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. Liao Chen looked at him playfully. What do you mean this poor monk will leave you behind? You and I are not the same kind of people. Could it be that after being with this poor monk for so many days, you gradually have feelings for this poor monk? Daoist Qingfeng glanced at him faintly. I'm afraid that if you run away, I won't know where to find you if I want to kill you in the future. Liao Chen hooked up her bright red lips, and her charming peach blossom eyes slightly narrowed. She landed under the tree and said with a smile, I'll wait for you in Chengdu. It's a deal. In April, the Black Wind Cavalry and the Dark Shadow Army surrounded the Great Yan Imperial Palace. In the monarch's bedroom, the fake monarch, Gu Qingfeng, completed the task with glory. The real monarch was lying on the bright yellow dragon bed. His stroke was much better, and he could get out of bed. When he heard that the crown princess and Xianyuan army had returned victorious, he was very happy and planned to go out of the palace to welcome them personally. Unexpectedly, the crown princess and Xianyuanqi came to his bedroom early. Although the battle report from the front line had mentioned that Xianyuanqi came back alive, the monarch still couldn't believe it when he saw it with his own eyes. Xianyuanqi didn't greet him as a monarch, nor did he exchange greetings with him. He just stood beside Shang Guanyin with a cold face. It's solved. Xianyuanqi said to Shang Guanyin. The monarch frowned. Solved what? He shouldn't have. Come, he yelled. No expert came over. The monarch finally understood what Xianyuanqi had solved. He frowned and looked at Shang Guanyin. What are you going to do? Shang Guanyin clapped her hands, and a little eunuch came forward with a tray. On the tray were a writing brush, an inkstone, and a blank imperial edict. The monarch had an ominous premonition in his heart. Shang Guanyin, are you going to usurp the throne? Shang Guanyan's father-daughter relationship had been exhausted during the years in the imperial mausoleum. She looked at the father she used to admire, and there was no longer a trace of emotion in her heart. Imperial father, what are you talking about? I am the crown princess that you personally conferred. After you die, the throne will be mine. How can I usurp the throne? Father, you are already old, and you haven't recovered from your stroke, so you feel that you are powerless to govern the court. For the sake of Great Yan's rivers and mountains, you have decided to make me the emperor, and you will be an idle retired emperor in this palace. The king trembled with anger. How dare you? I am your father. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens for threatening me like this? Shang Guanyan's face sank. Imperial mother died, the Xianyuan clan was exterminated. I was publicly whipped in the throne room, and my martial arts were crippled. Even my 2 sons experienced life and death situations several times. I have already suffered the wrath of the heavens. What am I afraid of? This was the first time that Shang Guanyin was so angry in front of the monarch. More than 10 years ago, when the Xianyuan clan was annihilated, she was still young and inexperienced. Now the monarch really realized that his daughter had grown up. She had become so unfamiliar, not at all like the person in his memory. I loved you so much in vain. I really loved you. Among so many imperial heirs, he loved her the most. Shang Guanyan's mood calmed down little by little. She no longer quarreled with him, but very coldly said, "The person you love the most is yourself. Rest assured and be the retired emperor. The rivers and mountains of Great Yin have nothing to do with you." The monarch coldly said, "What if I don't make a decree?" Shang Guanyin sneered, "If you die, I will inherit the throne, and it will be a matter of course." The monarch suddenly froze. "From the beginning, you have planned all this, haven't you? You said that you are willing to restore the identity of the crown princess, and as the crown princess, you will go to war on behalf of me, just for this day, right?" "Yes," Shang Guanyin admitted without hesitation. The monarch clenched his fists. "I didn't say that I won't give you the throne. Why are you so anxious?" Shang Guanyin excitedly said, "Do I have to hold everyone's life and death in your hands? Who was the one who established me and crippled me? As long as you are on the throne, the Xianyuan family will not be able to be rehabilitated. My son will not be able to openly walk in front of others. Qing'er is like this, Ahing is also like this." The monarch opened his mouth. Shang Guanyin sarcastically said. "Have you thought about repenting? I don't believe it." "Yen'er, come to Father Emperor." "Father Emperor." The 3-year-old crown princess hopped and jumped over to him. "Did you go climb a tree again? Why are you so dirty? There was a small bird. It fell from its nest, so I wanted to put it back up." Yen'er really is a kind-hearted child. I am." The crown princess nodded seriously. "Father Emperor, you are injured. Does your finger hurt a lot? Yen'er will blow on it for you." Huff huff huff. The little girl who was reluctant to hurt a small bird. The little girl who would be nervous for a long time when his finger was injured, at some unknown time, had a vicious heart that wanted to kill the monarch and kill her father. The monarch stared blankly at the departing Shang Guanyin, not daring to believe that this was his daughter. Shang Guanyin stopped in front of the threshold and slightly turned her head. Looking at the shiny floor, she calmly said, "It was you who lost me." After Gu Jiao returned to Chengdu, she hid her achievements and reputation and gave the job of receiving the support of the people to Luchen. She herself returned to the Duke's manor. Seeing her, Manager Zheng was moved to tears. "Young master, young man, you finally came back." Gu Jiao dismounted and handed him the red-tasseled spear. Manager Zheng was immediately pressed to the ground. "Young master, the spear is a bit heavy. Where is my adoptive father?" Gu Jiao asked. Manager Zheng waved his hand to the servants, and 2 servants came forward. Working together, they carried the red-tasseled spear away. Only then did he stand up and say to Gu Jiao, "The Duke went to the Imperial Tutor's Hall." After successfully sending his great-aunt and others into the Zhao country, and Guogong returned home with Wang Su. He stayed in Chengdu, while Wang Su went to the border. "Oh." Gu Jiao nodded. "Just in time. I'm also going to the Imperial Tutor's Hall." In the purple bamboo forest, and Guogong was sitting in a wheelchair, playing chess with the Imperial Tutor. Yuhi was helping to sweep the fallen petals in the yard. When he saw Gu Jiao, his eyes lit up. "Lulang, you're back." "Yuhi." Gu Jiao greeted him. Yuhi looked behind her. "Huh? Why don't I see my eldest brother? Didn't he also go to the border? Didn't he come back with you?" Gu Jiao had received a letter from the Zhao country. The letter talked about the recent situation in Baishui Alley and Juke Street, and also about Marquis Xianping's experience on the island. She hesitated for a moment, and didn't tell Yuhi about Yi Qing's poisoning. She only said, "Your eldest brother is a guest on the Dark Night Island." "That's right, it's so strange. The Dark Night Island is frozen until February at most. It's already April. Why hasn't Yi Qing come back yet? Could it be that he's too handsome and was left on the island to be the husband of the fortress? The Dark Night Island of the Dark Night sect? My brother went there. Yuhi was shocked. Gu Jiao smiled, patted him on the shoulder, and went to the corridor. She opened the curtain and entered the room. The two people in the room had already heard her voice and were waiting for her to come. She left in August, and now it's already April. They haven't seen each other for more than half a year, and she has changed a lot. She's a little taller, and her facial features have grown a lot. She fought all day, was exposed to the sun and rain, and was tempered by the wind and sand. Her originally white skin turned into a light wheat color, which made her more heroic. At the border, many girls secretly admired the commander of the Black Wind Cavalry. Father, Imperial Tutor. She happily greeted the two of them, and Guogong looked at her and couldn't move his eyes away. Even if she came back safely, but thinking of what she went through at the border, he couldn't help but feel distressed. Come here, let me take a look. And Guogong waved at Gu Jiao. Huh. Gu Jiao was slightly surprised, and Guogong smiled. I'm recovering very well. I can talk, and I can also lift my arms. He said it casually, but in order to give her a surprise, he almost desperately tried to recover for the past 8 months. The process was painful and torturous, but compared to her hard work, his was not worth mentioning. Gu Jiao came to his side, squatted down, and looked up at him. You look good. Then she checked his pulse and the strength of his muscles. Wow, this is very surprising. It was much more powerful than expected. Soon, he might be able to walk again. You worked very hard, I praise you. She said it very seriously, but in Guogong's eyes, it was like a child saying adult words seriously. And Guogong was very happy. He rubbed the top of her head and asked, Are you hurt? No. Gu Jiao shook her head decisively, and Guogong said helplessly, You are just like your mother, always reporting the good news and not the bad. Huh. Her mother? And Guogong smiled. Ah, I mean your foster mother. Oh. She almost thought that he knew that she used to be Jing Yinin. The state preceptor cleared his throat to emphasize his presence. Gu Jiao looked at the Imperial Tutor carefully. Huh? Imperial Tutor, have you been overworked recently? You look. He had aged quite a bit. The misunderstanding between Guogong and the Imperial Tutor had been resolved, so he came to the Imperial Tutor's hall when he had nothing to do. He also found that the Imperial Tutor had been aging quickly recently, and half of his white hair had turned white. Alas, he already looked old, but now he looked even older. Gu Jiao sighed exaggeratedly. It's my fault, I shouldn't have left all the responsibilities to you when I left. The Imperial Tutor glanced at her. It's not like you to admit your mistakes so quickly. Gu Jiao. I'm in a good mood. The Imperial Tutor. Get to the point. Gu Jiao looked at her fingers and rolled her eyes. That I heard that Jean offered a batch of high-quality weapons and sent it to the Imperial Tutor's hall. Sure enough, father is the biological child and I was picked up. The Imperial Tutor muttered in a low voice and said lightly, It hasn't arrived yet, it's on the way. When it arrives, I'll pick one for you as your wedding gift. And Guogong's face instantly darkened. You're touching a sore spot. Marquis Xianping's operation was too flashy. Just last month, the envoy of Zhao country arrived and sent a betrothal gift to the young Marquis of Zhaodu to marry the young master of Guogong family. Did foster father agree? Gu Jiao blinked and looked at him. Her face said, Agreed. And Guogong refused to answer this question. At first, he did not want to agree, but Marquis Xianping's second flashy operation came. He directly had the envoy bring a basket full of portraits of his precious daughter. From birth to 3 months old, she was eating fingers, scratching feet and drooling. She was extremely cute. The envoy smiled and said, The Marquis had this lowly official bring a message to you. If the 2 young masters get married, they can also give birth to a chubby girl for you. He seriously suspected that Marquis Xianping sending someone to send a betrothal gift was fake, and that showing off his daughter was real. How hateful. He had been lusted after by that person who had appeared on the beauty rankings of the 6 countries. Thus he decided to have Jiao Jiao and Aheng get married as soon as possible. He wanted to hold his obedient granddaughter. Digression. A 3-month-old baby could not scratch feet, but a portrait was something that everyone understood. For the sake of showing off a baby, the little chick monkey was going all out. P.S. Will return to Zhao country tomorrow. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. The novels that cannot be found online will all be available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/105095495417. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. Chapter 905. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Zhao country experienced a cold winter that was hard to come by in 10 years. Many regions suffered from snow disasters. Fortunately, the imperial court responded promptly. While transferring disaster relief funds from the national treasury, they also contacted the surrounding regions to send supplies to the cities that suffered severe disasters. As the imperial envoy for disaster relief, Grand Secretary Yuan brought along several cabinet members to accompany him. Xiaoheng was also among them. Because he went to disaster relief, he didn't know that his father had sent an envoy to Yan country to propose marriage, especially to the young master of the duke's household. He also didn't know that his father was showing off to Yan country. He did receive quite a few letters from the Marquis's household. This one is mine. This one is for you, Grand Secretary Yuan. In the study of the county yamen, Xiaoheng handed the letter in his hand to Grand Secretary Yuan. My father's letter. Grand Secretary Yuan already knew that he was actually Zhao Du's young marquis. When Grand Secretary Yuan heard that it was from Marquis Xianping, he thought that something important had happened in the imperial court. He quickly took the letter and opened it with a serious expression. In the end, he saw a line of flamboyant words. My daughter-in-law's older brother's future father-in-law. This marquis's daughter is 1 month old. Grand Secretary Yuan is very knowledgeable. Please give her a nice name. Attached is a portrait of this marquis's daughter. Grand Secretary Yuan. Xiaoheng didn't mean to peek. It was just that his father's handwriting was bigger than a wicker basket. It was hard not to see it. As expected, a small portrait of his sister was attached. He couldn't remember how many name-seeking letters his father had sent out. His great-uncle had also received one. Also, hadn't his sister's name been decided long ago? Showing off his daughter in the name of giving her a name was really too much. If he had a daughter in the future, she definitely wouldn't be like his father. Vermilion Bird Avenue. After the beginning of spring, the weather in the capital was good. Sheng Guanqing was in a horse stance in the courtyard. 3 feet of ice wasn't formed in a day. He had been poisoned for 20 years. Even with the purple herb fruit, he couldn't completely recover in a day. He needed to recuperate for several months. Other than taking the purple grass fruit every day, he also had to drink the Chinese medicine prescribed by the imperial physician. In addition, the imperial physician also told him to exercise more to help his body recover. Marquis Xianping would come here every day to exercise his muscles and bones. At first, he could only take light walks, but gradually he was able to get into a horse stance. The father and son recuperated together, and their recovery was not bad. Get into the horse stance first. In the courtyard, after Marquis Xianping adjusted his son's movements, he said seriously, Today's weather is pretty good. I'll bring your little sister out to bask in the sun. Sheng Guanqing curled his lips and said, Practicing the horse dance with me is just a pretense. Your real purpose is to hug your sister, isn't it? His younger sister was 3 months old. Her name was Xiaoyi. It was said that his mother had given her a name when she was pregnant with her first child. The name sounded obedient, but in reality, she was quite obedient. It was just that she didn't drink the wet nurse's milk, and had to be fed by the princess herself. When he was young, his mother seemed to have personally fed him. Back to his younger sister. In addition to tormenting her mother, her younger sister's other problem was that she cried too loudly, the kind that shocked the heavens and made ghosts and gods weep. It was nothing during the day, but at night, it was so noisy that the whole street couldn't sleep. No one could pacify her, except for his father. His father came to see him every afternoon, had dinner with him, and coaxed his younger sister to sleep at night before leaving. As his younger sister grew older and slept later and later, his father also left later and later. Princess Xinyang went out. Inside the room, Eugene was watching over little Xiao Yi, who was sleeping soundly. Little Xiao Yi was prettier than other newborns when she was born. After the first month of confinement, she became much chubbier and more delicate and adorable. Marquis. Eugene bowed to Marquis Xianping. Marquis Xianping nodded and responded. He came to the cradle and looked at the sleeping little fellow inside. The corners of his lips unconsciously curled up slightly. Eugene glanced at him discreetly and thought, Marquis is different from before. Marquis Xianping raised his eyebrows. She looks so good. She must have taken after me. Eugene's face darkened. She took back her words. The Marquis was still the Marquis. Not long after, the sound of horse hooves came from outside the door. Princess Xinyang's carriage had returned. She had just gone to the imperial palace to discuss the marriage between Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao with Empress Dowager Zhuang and Empress Xiao. Regarding the matter of the wedding, the two women of high status did not have any objections. In fact, they were in full agreement. In Empress Dowager Zhuang's heart, Aheng, that stinky brat, owed her Jiao a grand wedding. Princess Xinyang also thought so. Back when they were in the countryside, the two did not officially get married. Her son was unconscious and became someone else's husband when he opened his eyes. There was no ceremony, and there was no consummation. What sort of marriage was this? In addition, he had used someone else's identity at that time. Now that he had recovered his identity as Xiao Heng, the marriage between Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao's mother could no longer be counted. Of course, she also had her own selfish motives. She wanted to witness her son's wedding. The letter of engagement had already been sent to Baishui Alley. Today, her main goal was to finalize the details of the betrothal gifts and the date of the wedding with Empress Dowager Zhuang and Empress Xiao. Princess, you've returned. Eugene welcomed her with a smile. Raising her hand, she helped her hang up her cloak. Did the discussion go smoothly? It went quite smoothly, Princess Xinyang said. Master Marquis has come, Eugene quietly said. Princess Xinyang turned her head to look. Sure enough, she saw a certain person sitting in front of the cradle, foolishly looking at the little guy in the cradle with a silly smile. The sunlight shone through the window lattice and fell on his mature and handsome face. His eyes seemed to be filled with starlight. She turned her face away and faintly muttered, "Why did he come again?" Eugene smiled and said, "Then should the servant chase Master Marquis out?" Princess Xinyang choked and glared at her. "If you chase him out, when the little one cries, will you coax him?" Eugene covered her face and could not help but laugh. "Ha!" Princess Xinyang sighed. Eugene keenly sensed that something was off with Princess Xinyang and asked, "What is it, Princess? Did something happen?" Princess Xinyang frowned and asked strangely, "When I came out of the harem, I happened to run into the court. They came to me one by one to give ye a name. Did I ask them for a name? Why are there suddenly so many people eager to give her a name?" Marquis Xianping shook the cradle as if nothing had happened, his face calm. On the other side, Shang Guanyin left a blank imperial edict for the monarch to abdicate. The monarch's heart was burning with anger, so naturally, he was unwilling to give in easily. The experts around him were dealt with by Xin Yuanqi, but he still had a large number of imperial guards and soldiers from the rearguard commandery. He pretended to write the imperial edict, and took the opportunity to press the mechanism beside the desk. He fell into the secret passage. At the same time, a fireworks signal rose into the sky from the roof. The imperial guards and soldiers from the rearguard commandery quickly rushed to the harem. Xin Yuanqi was already prepared. He cooperated with his son from the inside and outside, opening the palace gates. 30,000 Black Wind cavalry and 20,000 Shadow Tribe soldiers killed their way into the palace. They were soldiers who had just returned from the battlefield bathed in blood. Their bodies were full of the aura of golden spears and armored horses. This was something that the pampered army in the imperial city could not match. If Wang Man and Wang Su's forces were here, they might be able to turn the tables. But they were deliberately left behind by Shengguan Yen on the road. The imperial guards were gradually declining. The monarch pressed the second mechanism in the secret passage, and another firework signal flew into the sky. This was to contact Yen Shanjun in the outer city. Yen Shanjun was not as ignorant of worldly affairs as the world thought. He had a secret army of the royal family in his hands, which was the monarch's last line of defense. However, before he could make a move, a long sword came from behind him and lightly rested on his neck. "I don't want to hurt you," Gu Changqing said. Yen Shanjun coldly said, "Do you think it's useful to threaten this monarch?" Gu Changqing lightly said, "I know you are not afraid of death. So, do you not care about the life and death of your daughter?" Yen Shanjuan's pupils shrank. "What do you mean?" Gu Changqing tilted the sword head, like a silent gesture. Then a secret guard of the Gu family came in from the door with the sleeping young princess. Yen Shanjuan's face changed. "Light Shui, you are despicable. You won't even let a child go. Do the crown princess and Miss Gu know you are doing this?" He and Gu Chengfeng stayed in the imperial city together. He already knew Gu Jiao's identity from Gu Chengfeng. He also knew that the person holding him hostage was Gu Jiao's elder brother. Gu Changqing's expression did not change in the slightest. "They don't need to know. Choose your daughter or your brother." Yen Shanjun gritted his teeth. "You," Gu Changqing coldly said, "don't think that I will be soft-hearted. You and I are the same. In this world, we all have people we want to protect, and we will do anything for them. Even if we go to hell after death, we will not hesitate." Yen Shanjun painfully closed his eyes. Gu Changqing was right. In this world, there was someone he wanted to protect. For her, he could do anything, even if it meant betraying his most trusted brother. Yen Shanjun handed over the commander's seal. After leaving Yen Shanjuan's residence, the secret guard of the Gu family tore off the human skin mask on his face and said with a smile, "Big brother, you acted too well just now. Even I almost believed you. I was afraid that if Yen Shanjun didn't agree, you would really kill the young princess." Gu Changqing sternly said, "I wasn't acting." Gu Chengfeng was stunned. Gu Changqing glanced at him and laughed. "Idiot." The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/10507555. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 906. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Changqing won't kill the little princess, because Yen Shanjun won't refuse. Yen Shanjun didn't want to send troops, but he couldn't get over the psychological hurdle. He used the little princess to threaten him, giving him a way to deceive himself and others. 16 years ago, the palace coup started by the Xianyuan army was repeated this time. The difference was this time the Xianyuan army won. Under the service of the eunuch and the eunuch, the monarch drafted an imperial edict to abdicate and confer a new monarch with a dark face. Great Yan's first empress was born, and her reign was named Yong'an. After Yong'an emperor succeeded the throne, the first thing he did was to rehabilitate the Xianyuan family. Xianyuan family was framed for more than 30 crimes, and the evidence had already been gathered. However, Xianyuan family's rebellion was true. As a subject, this was absolutely wrong. But the people's hearts were not always rational. When Shangguan Yin announced the prophecy of the state preceptor hall, the secret collusion between Jin and Liang, and the persecution of the retired emperor, the common people cursed the retired emperor for getting rid of the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness. On one hand, he relied on the Xianyuan family to stabilize the country, and on the other hand, he colluded with Jin and Liang to harm the loyal people. Who could bear this? In the skill of tearing off the royal family's fig leaf, Shangguan Yin could be said to have perfectly inherited the retired emperor, and even surpassed him. There was nothing she didn't dare to announce, only things people didn't dare to do. Everyone also really saw the means and courage of this empress. The second thing she did after succeeding the throne was to let the retired emperor write an imperial edict to count his own mistakes and reflect on it with deep regret. Of course, the retired emperor refused to write it, but was it important whether he was willing or not? Shangguan Yin had 100 ways to get this edict. The third thing she did was to execute the dethroned crown prince for the crime of harming the former crown princess and the emperor's grandson. When the dethroned crown prince was issued the edict, he shouted that the emperor's grandson was fake, and that people shouldn't believe her. She mixed up the royal family's bloodline. She was a sinner of the royal family. Unfortunately, his words could never be passed out of the mansion. Shangguan Yin restored Xianyuan Li's status as the Grand Marshal, and conferred him the title of Zhenwang. She originally wanted to confer Xianyuan Qi the title of king as well, but Xianyuan Qi refused. 2 kings in one family. It's not good for the reputation of the crown princess to have too many sacred favorites. The Xianyuan family has conquered half of the Yin kingdom. What's wrong with one family having 2 kings? I still want to make Zheng, or a marquis. Absolutely not. Xianyuan Qi sternly refused. But, listen to uncle. Xianyuan Qi said sternly. Shangguan Yin felt wronged. Oh. But Shangguan Yin still wants to compensate her second uncle and Zheng. They have been shadows for many years. The hardships they have put in are far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Especially those years when her uncle was in Ghost Mountain. Every time she thinks about it, her heart will ache. She conferred Xianyuan Qi the title of Marquis of Ding, and Xianyuan Zheng the title of Marquis of Ding. Xianyuan Qi inherited Xianyuan Li's position as Grand Marshal, while Xianyuan Zheng became the new Grand General of the Xianyuan family. At the same time, he was also the third Lord of Shadows. Xianyuan Cheng, who had passed away, was also restored to the position of Huwei General. While staying in Chengdu for a few months, and Guogong was not idle. He asked the state preceptor to find a place with good feng shui, and moved the bodies of the Xianyuan family's men and women to the new cemetery. He took Gu Jiao there. Gu Jiao personally engraved everyone's name on the stone tablet. The moon was bright and the stars were few. The quiet street was deserted. 2 carriages drove into the deserted long street. Gu Jiao rode the Black Wind King, and Xianyuan Qi and Liao Chen, who were also riding horses, followed on both sides. The group came to the mansion that had long been decayed. Shangguan Yin and Guogong got off the carriage one by one. Gu Jiao and Xianyuan Qi also dismounted. Gu Jiao came behind Guogong and pushed his wheelchair. Shangguan Yin sternly said, "Come, tear off the seal on the door and cut off the chain." "Yes, Your Majesty." The accompanying expert stepped forward and followed the order to remove the seal and iron chain. The door that had been sealed for many years was finally opened. The heavy sound echoed in everyone's heart. It was obviously just a moment, but it felt like a century had passed. The mansion was still the same as before, but the people had changed. No one could see the people who used to live in it. The barren weeds were simply cleaned up by Liao Chen, but it was still difficult to hide the desolation. Xianyuan Qi walked up the steps with heavy steps and looked at the quiet and dilapidated courtyard. His eyes suddenly turned red. "Big brother, I'm back." Liao Chen had already quietly come to the mansion. He had already felt sad. However, at this moment, when he returned with his father, he found that the sadness was nothing at all. At this moment, he truly experienced the sorrow of having his family destroyed. It was the sorrow from his father. Sheng Guanyan's eyes flashed with tears. She sniffed and said to Gu Jiao and in Guogong, "Let's go in." The servants laid wooden planks on the steps, and Gu Jiao pushed the wheelchair up. The Black Wind King also followed in. The last time he played in this courtyard, he was just a carefree foal. Now he had grown old. Sheng Guanyan introduced to Gu Jiao. "This is the martial arts field. In the past, my two uncles often competed here. My cousins also practiced martial arts here. Over there is first uncle's courtyard, and to the east is second uncle's courtyard. Behind the pavilion is first cousin's courtyard, and to the north is second cousin's, third cousin's, fourth cousin's, and fifth cousin's courtyard." She introduced in detail. Gu Jiao listened carefully. She felt familiar with this mansion. She heard from in Guogong that when Jing Yinin was a child, her grandfather often stole her away. Xian Yuanzi often woke up and found that her daughter was gone. Then she went back to her mother's house with a dark face to ask for her daughter. "Do you want to go to sixth cousin's courtyard?" Sheng Guanyan asked. "Okay." Gu Jiao nodded. A group of people went to Xian Yuansun's courtyard together. Looking at the courtyard full of weeds, Sheng Guanyan smiled bitterly. Sixth cousin always said that he was the most useless, but he didn't know that he was the only one who escaped from the clutches of so many people. He left the last trace of first uncle's bloodline. He did a great thing. By the way, how did Xian Yuansun escape? Gu Jiao asked Liaochen. The two didn't talk about Xian Yuansun in detail. Liaochen said, "It was Han Ci. At that time, all the men of the Xian Yuan family went to war. Sixth cousin stayed in Chengdu because of his poor health. The Han family came to kill him. Han Ci pretended to kill him and sent him out of Chengdu without telling the Han family." Gu Jiao suddenly understood. "No wonder you let Han Ci go." Liaochen said, "Sixth cousin owed him his life, so I returned it to him. I don't want sixth cousin to owe him anything." "Then what happened?" Gu Jiao asked. Liaochen recalled the past and couldn't help but be a little melancholy. "I once secretly returned to the Yan kingdom. First, I wanted to inquire about my father. Second, I also wanted to go back to the Xianyuan family. I also went to the vanguard camp and saw the newborn Ayu. However, no one found me at that time, except for sixth cousin. I told sixth cousin my identity and gave him a token of the Shadow Division. After sixth cousin escaped from the Han family, he contacted the masters of the Shadow Division near Chengdu. They escorted him all the way to the Zhao country. He lived near my temple. A few years later, he met a woman and married her. Unfortunately, his body was too weak and he carried the blood feud of the Xianyuan family. His condition deteriorated. Not long after Jing Kong was born, he died. Not long after, I found the infant Jing Kong at the gate of the temple. I knew it was sixth cousin's child. I had a bad feeling and hurried to find sixth cousin, but she was gone. I looked for her for a long time but couldn't find her. Later, I found her shoes by the river bank. I think she must have jumped into the lake to commit suicide." Hearing this, everyone fell silent. They felt sad for Xianyuan's son and his wife. "And the poor child." Xianyuan Qi said, "I want to go to the Zhao country and see sixth cousin's child." Gu Jiao looked at Liaochen and said, "When I guessed that you and Jing Kong were related to the Xianyuan family, I suspected that he was your son. Later, I went back to the master's hall and looked at the portrait of Xianyuan Sunday. I found that the two of them were more alike." Liaochen said mockingly, "Ha, I'm a monk. How could he have broken his sexual abstinence?" Gu Jiao nodded and said, "Yes, a monk who has broken his abstinence from killing, drinking, and meat." Was he still far from breaking his sexual abstinence? Liaochen. Xianyuan Qi looked at his son. After a few months of training at the border, he was already able to communicate well with others. He said earnestly, "Sheng, you're not young anymore. In the past, you carried the blood feud of the Xianyuan family, and your life and death were unknown, so you couldn't start a family. Now that everything has been settled, you should consider your marriage. Do you have a girl in mind? If you do, I'll propose marriage for you. Father doesn't care about her family background. As long as she's from a decent family, pure, kind-hearted and good-looking, it's fine." Liaochen put his hand to his forehead. How did this topic get sidetracked? Weren't they talking about sixth cousin and Jing Kong's background? Why are they urging me to get married? Isn't it better to be a monk? Liao Chen sighed and said, Father, I don't have a girl in mind, and I don't plan to get married. Jing Kong is enough for the Xianyuan family. I'll leave the inheritance to that boy. I just want to be free and unfettered. Besides, I'm already so old. People around my age already have children. If I marry an unmarried girl, it'll be like raising a daughter. You still have such high expectations. Xianyuan Qi had been away from the world for too long. He didn't know the average standard of men in Sheng City. He thought about his son's situation, and felt that what his son said made sense. He gritted his teeth and lowered his standards. Then, as long as it's a person. Liao Chen. Digression. I didn't make it back today because of a mistake, but I'm still very happy that Liao Chen is being urged to get married. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/10507475. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion mobile reading website. Chapter 907. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. Liao Chen felt a headache coming. He thought that if he became a monk, he wouldn't be urged to get married. He was too naive. Gu Jiao stood on the side gloating. Liao Chen chuckled. Why didn't they urge you? Don't think that he didn't know that she and Xiaoheng were just pretending to get married. Gu Jiao shook her little head. I'm engaged. This time it's real. Liao Chen's knee was hit by an arrow. He secretly clenched his fists. When he returned to Zhao country, he will urge Sheng Guanqing to marry. And little Jing Kong. What's wrong with being 6 years old? Urge marriage start from a child. After coming out of the mansion, Sheng Guanyin asked the eunuch to pass her order to call the Ministry of Works to repair the Xianyuan family's mansion, so that when Xianyuan Qi and Liao Chen return from their visit to Jing Kong, they can live in the renovated mansion. When getting on the carriage, Sheng Guanyin looked at Gu Jiao. Jiao Jiao, do you want to go to the palace with me? Dukan. Jiao Jiao wants to go back to the mansion with me. Sheng Guanyin, she is my daughter-in-law. Dukan, she is my daughter. In addition, she's not married, so she's not my daughter-in-law. Liao Chen led the horse, looked at Dukan, and then looked at Sheng Guanyin. Are you robbing people on the street? The two looked at Gu Jiao, waiting for Gu Jiao to make a choice. Gu Jiao blinked. Well, I have to go to the State Preceptor Hall later. I have something to do. The two who were treated fairly had no objection. Sheng Guanyin sat in the carriage back to the palace, and Dukan also sat in the carriage back to the mansion. Gu Jiao turned over and mounted the horse, said goodbye to Xianyuan Qi and Liao Chen, and then disappeared into the boundless night. Liao Chen looked at her back and said strangely, this girl's fate with the Xianyuan family is really strange. As for how bizarre it was, he couldn't believe it even when he thought about it. The husband she casually picked up was the grandson of the Xianyuan empress. The little monk she adopted was the last bloodline of the Xianyuan war god. Even the red-tasseled spear she accidentally obtained was the divine weapon of the Xianyuan family. She was even adopted by Dukan as his adopted son. She was a woman dressed as a man, so she should be his adopted daughter. Her fate with the Xianyuan family seemed to have been decided a long time ago. There was a deep bond between them. He even had the misconception that no matter how the wheel of fate spun, she would definitely come to the Xianyuan family. Yes, back to the Xianyuan family, Xianyuan Qi corrected him. What? Liao Chen was stunned. He didn't understand what his father meant. Xian Yuanqi stared fixedly at the small figure galloping into the night, but did not answer. Gu Jiao went to the Imperial Advisor Hall. She was the favored one of the Imperial Advisor Hall, and everyone in the hall had heard of her. They all knew that this new commander of the Black Wind Cavalry had won the Imperial Advisor Hall's favor. She could come and go freely in the purple bamboo forest, and her status was comparable to their big brother. Tonight, Yuhi was on duty in the purple bamboo forest. When he saw Gu Jiao coming, he was very surprised. Lulang, why are you here at this time? Is your master asleep? Gu Jiao asked. It was a bit late, and she came to try her luck. If the Imperial Advisor Hall was asleep, she would come again tomorrow. Yuhi shook his head. No, master has been sleeping very late recently. He paused and said in a low voice. I feel that master's condition is not very good recently. His body is deteriorating a bit too quickly. I suspect that he forced himself to do a divination again. There was a price to pay for divination, and divulging the secrets of heaven. The divination he did for the Yen Kingdom had made his master 10 years older. Now he didn't know who he was doing the divination for, but it felt more powerful than the last time. Gu Jiao thought for a moment. I know. She threw the reins to Yuhi. Boss hasn't eaten yet. Sorry to trouble you. Okay. Yuhi took the reins and went to feed the horse. Gu Jiao came with a small basket on her back. She brought something to show the Imperial Advisor Hall. The Imperial Advisor Hall was sitting on a cushion in the central room, with an unfinished chessboard in front of him. Imperial Advisor Hall. Gu Jiao greeted him and sat down opposite him. The curtain at the door was rolled up, and the back door was wide open. The wind blowing through the hall was slightly cold. You're here, the Imperial Advisor Hall said. I want to show you something. Gu Jiao put down the small basket and took out a brocade box from it. After opening it, there were a few dried purple grass flowers and 2 dried purple herbs. The fruit is gone. I sent it all to Sheng Guanqing. Originally, she kept some for research. Later, the Zhao Kingdom sent a letter saying that the purple grass fruit was useful, but it needed to be taken for a long time. She sent the remaining half of the fruit back to the Zhao Kingdom. The Imperial Advisor Hall's eyes fell on the dried plants. He was puzzled. These flowers are, Gu Jiao said, purple grass flowers. You didn't expect that the purple grass could bloom, right? I didn't know at first. It was Sheng Guanqing's father who went to the Dark Night Island and found that the purple grass could not only bloom, but also bear fruit. Its fruit can detoxify the poison of the purple grass and the strange poison in Sheng Guanqing's body. As for how many other poisons it can detoxify, I don't know. I haven't tested it. The Imperial Advisor Hall was enlightened. So that's how it is. Gu Jiao's understanding of the purple grass came from Marquis Xianping's handwritten letter. It was really hard for him. He couldn't read a word before, but now he could write a lot. She continued, the poison of the purple grass is the strongest, and the poison of the flower is second. The purple grass is a plant with strong vitality. It can grow anywhere, but it can only bloom and bear fruit in extremely cold places. The Imperial Advisor Hall asked, is it the purple grass found in the Dark Night Island? Gu Jiao nodded. Yes, it's the island where the Dark Night Gang is. There are many of them in the Dark Night Gang, all over the hills. According to the young lord of the Dark Night Gang, the purple grass originally came from the Dark Night Island. The purple grass in the 6 nations was stolen from the island. It's a pity that the purple grass they stole could not bear fruit. They all turned into poison. This is a major discovery. The Imperial Advisor Hall picked up a dried purple grass flower and observed it carefully. Did you do a divination again? Gu Jiao looked at his face, which had aged more than 10 years, and asked the question in her heart. Just a little. It's nothing. He didn't want to talk about it and returned to the topic of the purple grass. I also have a discovery here. Oh. Gu Jiao tilted her head and looked at him. The Imperial Advisor Hall put the dried purple grass flower back into the box and said seriously, Inin's mother was poisoned when she was pregnant. I suspect that she was poisoned by the purple grass poison. However, the poison was absorbed by the fetus in her womb, so it looked like her poison was cured. Why do you say it's a suspicion? Gu Jiao asked. The Imperial Advisor Hall sighed. I didn't think about it at that time. The purple grass poison is different from other poisons. The symptoms of poisoning are very complicated and full of changes. It's also difficult to diagnose from the pulse. Gu Jiao asked, "Why do you think it's the purple grass poison now?" The Imperial Advisor Hall said, "I heard from Dukan about Yinin's childhood. Combined with my research on the purple grass poison, I came up with this guess. Yinin absorbed the purple grass poison in Xian Yuanzi's body. After she was born, she had been fighting against the poison, so her body was very weak for the first 2 years. After the purple grass poison merged with her body, she had a talent for martial arts. Even Mu Qingchen, who was 3 years older than her and had been practicing martial arts since childhood, couldn't beat her. In addition, I have another suspicion. Your body was once poisoned by the purple grass poison." "Me?" Gu Jiao lowered her head to look at herself. The Imperial Advisor Hall said, "The second Lord of Shadows heard about the purple grass in the state of Zhao and set off there. I don't know why they wanted the purple grass. I only know that the purple grass appeared in the vicinity of Qingchuan village, where you were born. Xian Yuanzheng concealed his identity there for many years, but he couldn't find the purple grass whereabouts. Was the information wrong, or was the purple grass eaten by someone?" Although he was asking questions, his tone was clearly leaning towards the latter guess. Gu Jiao also felt that the latter was more likely. She didn't have any evidence, so it was just her intuition. Then did the Marchioness eat it, or did the original owner eat it? The Imperial Advisor Hall shook his head. "There's no way to know. But no matter who ate it, I think it was a mistake." Gu Jiao asked, "What about Xian Yuanzi? How did she get poisoned by the purple grass poison? Was it also a mistake?" The Imperial Advisor Hall shook his head again. "It was the Han family who poisoned her. The purple grass poison isn't a medicine. On the contrary, it's a poison without an antidote. Very few people can survive it, let alone Xian Yuanzi, who is just a pregnant woman. The Han family's original intention was to kill both her and her child to attack Xian Yuanli." Gu Jiao continued, "But they didn't expect to go for wool and come home shorn. Instead, I used Jing Yinin's body to transmigrate. It's so strange. Why did both Gu Jiao's mother and Jing Yinin get poisoned by the purple grass poison? Could it be that my transmigration has something to do with the purple grass poison?" The state preceptor looked at the purple grass flower in the box and said, "What we saw was the shape of the purple grass flower, but maybe the purple grass flower contains dark matter that we can't see. Maybe it was this dark matter that brought you here from another time and space." Gu Jiao frowned. "Does this happen to other people?" The Imperial Advisor Hall said, "As far as I know, no." Gu Jiao fell into deep thought. Suddenly, she thought of something and hurriedly took out the medicine box from the basket on her back. "What are you doing?" The Imperial Advisor Hall looked at her and asked. Gu Jiao opened the medicine box. "You can't put anything in this box. If you do, it will disappear into another dimension." The Imperial Advisor Hall understood what she was going to do. He didn't stop her because he also wanted to know the result. Gu Jiao picked up a dried purple grass flower and gently put it in. Then she closed the lid with a click. She waited quietly for a while, and then opened the lid. The two people's eyes fell on the medicine box, and their expressions changed. Digression. Some readers are doubting Daoist Qingfeng's gender. Yes, Daoist Qingfeng is a real man. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1050555560. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 908. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. The purple grass is still there. What does this mean? It means that the purple grass came from the small medicine box. Or to be exact, the unknown dark matter attached to the purple grass came from the small medicine box. Gu Jiao blinked in confusion. But didn't Changjing say that the purple grass on the island was planted by the first island owner? What the hell is going on? State Preceptor thought for a moment and said, if you want to know the answer, I'm afraid you can only go to the Dark Night Island. This is not urgent. Didn't Yi Qing stay on the island? Maybe when he comes back, he can bring back some useful information. Gu Jiao nodded. That's the only way. Her wedding was imminent. She couldn't leave the groom at this time and go to the Dark Night Island alone. Gu Jiao suddenly said, speaking of this, I forgot to ask adoptive father, has the wedding date been set? It's set. State Preceptor said. October 18th, an auspicious day. Isn't that my 18th birthday? Gu Jiao tilted her head and squinted at him. You calculated an auspicious day? The State Preceptor nonchalantly placed another chess piece on the board. The Imperial Astronomer calculated it. Gu Jiao. There is no Imperial Astronomer in the Yen Kingdom. State Preceptor. Now there is. Gu Jiao. State Preceptor said. There are only a few months left. Besides, you are not waiting in the Yen Kingdom. The people of Duke Ongwa's mansion have already gone to the Zhao Kingdom. The houses should be ready. A few days ago, Duke Ongwa played chess with me. He said that the wedding team is ready and can leave at any time. Adoptive father is so considerate. Gu Jiao was very happy. She held her chin with one hand and leaned her elbow on the small table. She looked at him calmly. Is your transmigration also related to the purple grass poison? State Preceptor said without hesitation. No, my situation is different from yours. Gu Jiao was disappointed. Oh. The State Preceptor looked at the night scene in the forest and said to Gu Jiao, it's getting late. You should go back. Oh. Gu Jiao stood up. It's indeed quite late. I'll go back first. Yes. The State Preceptor replied. Under the moonlight, Gu Jiao took out a mask and led Black Wind King out of the purple bamboo forest. When you see your big brother, you have to cover your face. This time, the Gu army also withdrew from the border. However, their route back to the Zhao Kingdom did not pass through Xingdu of the Yen Kingdom. They went through Cangzhou. Only the old Duke Gu Changqing and Tang Yueshan secretly came to Xingdu. The three of them stayed in the public house. Gu Qingfeng had an ulterior motive in showing off his exclusive room to them, indicating that he was among the first batch to stay there. The three of them looked down on him. Gu Changqing took a hot bath in the public house. After changing into dry clothes, he went to the State Preceptor's hall. Gu Changqing could not let the world know what he was going to do. He waited for his sister to come out before going to the State Preceptor. State Preceptor. He greeted politely. I haven't seen you for a long time. How are you? You don't look well. Are you too tired these days? He knew more or less about what happened in Xingdu. His brother Gu Chengfeng was only responsible for playing the role of a healthy monarch. The State Preceptor was in charge of all the affairs in the imperial court. His Majesty has ascended the throne. I'll be relaxed in the future. His words were tantamount to admitting that his weakness was caused by excessive fatigue. He looked at Gu Changqing. How are you? Are you recovering well? Gu Changqing said seriously. I'm recovering well. After becoming a death warrior, I feel that my skills are better than before. A death warrior's life is shorter than ordinary people, but I don't regret it. The State Preceptor laughed dryly. As long as you're happy. Gu Changqing looked at the State Preceptor solemnly. There are actually two reasons for my late night visit. First, to thank you. Second, I've finished the medicine you gave me to hide my aura. The State Preceptor smiled slightly. I'll get it for you. After saying that, he got up and went to the study to get a bottle of pills and handed it to Gu Changqing. Gu Changqing took it in his hand and thought of something. He asked strangely, I have a question that I've always wanted to ask you. Go ahead. Why does the medicine I took in the state preceptor's palace smell different from the medicine you asked me to take to the border? The color is also different. The state preceptor put on a fake smile and thought, because the first time I gave you the ebony pill, and the second time I gave you the all-nourishment pill. The state preceptor asked, have you had a nosebleed recently? Gu Changqing said, yes. I'll give you another bottle of medicine. Don't worry, the effect is the same. The state preceptor went to the study without changing his expression, and decisively changed a bottle of lotus fire pill. Gu Changqing left the consultation fee and took the pills back to the public house. Dukan ordered that the wedding procession would set off in 3 days. The public house was busy counting the young master's dowry overnight. As for why the young master wants to marry a man, we don't know, and we don't dare to ask. Marquis Xianping probably didn't expect that Dukan would dare to marry Gu Jiao as the young master, so he was a little naughty. In the public house's phone courtyard, it was a different scene. The old duke, Gu Chengfeng, and Tang Yueshan all lived in the public house. Naturally, they would have heard about the marriage between Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao. Gu Qingfeng had known about Xiao Heng's true identity long ago. The old duke and Tang Yueshan knew about it later, before they entered the Yin kingdom. The old duke was very angry. What are you angry about? Tang Yueshan didn't mind the drama. Are you angry that she didn't want to go back to the Marquis's mansion, and came to the public house to be a young master? Or are you angry that old Xiao didn't go to the Marquis's mansion to send the engagement letter and betrothal gifts here? Since he followed Marquis Xianping, Tang Yueshan had not only learned to be indecent, but also learned to poke the heart. His poke was accurate, and the old duke was very angry. Tang Yueshan gloated. You can't blame her and old Xiao. You didn't recognize her in the first place. Now she doesn't recognize you. Isn't it human nature? Gu Qingfeng pursed his lips. Recognize what? That girl wasn't Gu Jiao's mother at all. The old duke didn't think about not recognizing Gu Jiao, but he didn't value a granddaughter that much. He valued his little brother. But who would have thought that little brother was Gu Jiao? That girl still didn't know that he already knew that she was Gu Jiao. She always wore a mask in front of him and called him little brother. He was really angry, but he couldn't say anything. Otherwise it would be awkward. What's wrong with you? Gu Changqing stepped into the room. The atmosphere in the room was too strange. His brother was dejected, his grandfather looked very cold, and only Tang Yueshan looked gloating. The old duke and Gu Chengfeng didn't want to talk. Tang Yueshan said with a smile, what else can it be? You're angry about that girl's marriage. You say she has 3 brothers, but she didn't marry from the Marquis's mansion. Who carried her on the sedan chair? Gu Chengfeng said without thinking, of course it's me. Gu Changqing quickly changed the topic. He frowned. I'm the eldest brother. I should carry her on the sedan chair. Gu Chengfeng chuckled. Big brother, are you already engaged? According to the customs of the Zhao kingdom, you can't carry your sister on the sedan chair. I almost forgot about this. Gu Changqing clenched his fist. You can't either. You broke the family rules. You have to reflect on your mistakes behind closed doors. Gu Qingfeng raised his eyebrows. What family rules did I break? Gu Changqing turned to the old duke. Grandfather, he is the #1 thief in the capital, Fei Shuang. Gu Qingfeng's body trembled. Damn. My brother sold me out just like that. He just carried that girl on the sedan chair. Did he have to do that? Don't blame me for what you did. Gu Qingfeng glared. He stood on tiptoe and looked Gu Changqing in the eyes. He pointed at his nose and said fiercely, your Zikao poison has expired. You didn't become a man of sacrifice at all. Gu Changqing sucked in a cold breath. His eyes widened in disbelief, and something in his mind collapsed with a bang. Tang Yueshan couldn't help laughing. Gu Changqing had become so powerful because he thought he had become a man of sacrifice. No wonder he had been secretly taking medicine recently. The 3 brothers of the Gu family were famous for their harmony. It was rare to see them fall out with each other. Okay, you guys continue. I'm happy to watch the show. The brothers then remembered that Tang Yueshan was still in the room. How they fought was their own business. They would not allow an outsider to laugh at them. Gu Qingfeng immediately turned his gun to Tang Yueshan. He looked at the precious Tang Bao in his hand and said coldly, "Fatty Tang, what are you so proud of? Your precious Tang family Bao has already been touched by that girl countless times." Gu Changqing said sarcastically, "She put it back after she touched it. I was the sentry. You didn't expect that, did you?" Tang Yueshan felt like he was struck by lightning. His Bao. He would never allow anyone to touch his Bao. At that moment, Gu Jiao came back from the purple bamboo forest. Although she left earlier than Gu Changqing, she went to buy something on the way and came back a little late. She came because she heard the noise in the room. She adjusted the mask on her face and was about to ask what had happened when Tang Yueshan, who was holding his precious Tang Bao, glared at her with a hurt expression. "Old Gu already knew that you were his granddaughter," Tang Yueshan said through gritted teeth. "Gu Jiao. Old Duke." That night, Tang Yueshan was beaten up badly. 3 days later, on a sunny morning, the wedding procession, escorted by the Black Wind Cavalry and the Shadow Troop, left the Duke Onggua's mansion and went to the kingdom of Zhao. Digression. There were people in the Himalayas who listened. Little Jingkong's voice was so cute. Search for Chief Concubine's concubine. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/10505451. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 909. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are available here. Imperial Palace, Imperial Study. The newly ascended Empress was busy with state affairs. Shang Guanyin sat in a chair and looked at the mountain of memorials in front of her. She felt a headache coming on. Being a monarch is so tiring. I suddenly regret it. Shang Guanyin gritted her teeth and picked up a memorial. The emperor of a generation had a court of ministers. The original favorite of the imperial study was Zhang Dequan, but now Zhang Dequan followed the retired emperor to Tai Palace. Shang Guanyin promoted a chamberlain named Wu Cixi. Wu Cixi came in with a bowl of boiled lotus seed soup and came to Shang Guanyan's side with a smile. "Your Majesty, you have been approving memorials for an hour, take a rest." Shang Guanyin put the writing brush on the holder and tiredly leaned on the back of the chair. "I've been approving memorials for an hour, but I haven't approved many memorials." Wu Cixi smiled. "Your Majesty has approved a lot of memorials. Moreover, you have just ascended the throne, and all the civil and military officials are counting on you. You must take care of your dragon body." Shang Guanyin looked at the lotus seed soup he handed over. Wu Cixi understood and moved the memorials in front of her away, and carefully put the lotus seed soup in her hand. Shang Guanyin scooped a spoonful and was about to drink when she thought of something and asked, "Has the wedding procession set off?" "They set off," Wu Cixi said. "They should have left Chengdu by now." Shang Guanyin sighed. Wu Cixi smiled and wanted to say something but stopped. Shang Guanyin noticed his strangeness and asked, "Is there anything else?" Wu Cixi smiled embarrassedly. "The 20 young masters from Jin country are still arranged in Chuxiu Palace. I don't know how your Majesty plans to settle them." "I haven't settled them yet," Shang Guanyin whispered. Jin country could send anything, but they sent 20 handsome men. Why does she want to fill the harem? Her son is already so big, she sternly said. "Among these people, maybe they are all spies from Jin country. You arrange it yourself, just don't let them starve to death." "Yes," Wu Cixi smiled. He felt sorry for them. Those men were really very handsome. Since the crown princess had become the empress, it was reasonable for her to expand her harem. "Your Majesty, Yin Shanjun requests an audience. A young eunuch's report came from outside the door. Shang Guanyin put down the spoon. Serve. Wu Cixi looked at the door and cleared his throat, raising his voice. Summon the Yen Mountain Monarch for an audience. Shang Guanyin silently glanced at him. Wu Cixi turned around and smiled embarrassedly. This is the first time for this servant as well. Now that he could announce his arrival, he could have some fun. Yen Shanjun entered the imperial study and cupped his hands in greeting. Your Majesty. Shang Guanyin asked. Why did Imperial Uncle come here today? Yen Shanjun looked around. All of you withdraw. Shang Guanyin said. Yes. Wu Cixi and the eunuchs and palace maids in the imperial study respectfully retreated. Shang Guanyin saw Yen Shanjun staring at her bowl, so she pushed the bowl to him. Do you want to eat lotus seed soup? I didn't move. Yen Shanjun came to the desk and sat down. He took the lotus seed soup and an empty teacup from the side. He smiled faintly and said, To tell you the truth, I came here today to bid farewell to your Majesty. Shang Guanyin asked, You're leaving again? Yen Shanjun slightly smiled and said, There's nothing for me to do in Sheng. Do I want to take Light Shui out for a walk? Shang Guanyin secretly muttered. One after another they all left. Yen Shanjun paused and said with a pleasant expression, In addition, I came to ask your Majesty to take back my royal status. Shang Guanyin looked at him strangely. Why do you want to take it back? I already said that I won't pursue the matter of you hiding troops. That's not the reason. He bowed his head and smiled bitterly. I'm not a member of the great Yen royal family. I'm the child of Imperial Mother and the Tujue. I know. Shang Guanyin said. She looked at him without blinking. After experiencing so many life and death situations, her eyes no longer had the naivety of her youth. Instead, they had the perseverance of a superior. The only thing that remained unchanged was that in the face of people she trusted enough, she didn't have any thoughts of beating around the bush. Yen Shanjun averted his gaze and looked at the scenery outside the window. He sighed helplessly. In addition, Imperial Brother and I are not blood brothers of the same mother but different fathers. Imperial Brother is a child that Imperial Mother adopted from Beauty Lu. Back then, Imperial Mother gave birth to a baby girl while Beauty Lu gave birth to a prince. In order to consolidate her position as Empress, Imperial Mother and Beauty Lu exchanged their children. Beauty Lu was unlucky and died a few years later. You can rest assured that it wasn't Imperial Mother who did it. Otherwise, Imperial Brother wouldn't be so filial to Imperial Mother. Shang Guanyin was surprised. There is such a thing. Does he know? Yen Shanjun looked at her again. You mean Imperial Brother? He should know that Princess Annal is Imperial Mother's flesh and blood. Shang Guanyin recalled. No wonder he is so close to Aunt Annal, and asked me to be filial to her when I grow up. Yen Shanjun said. Princess Annal's fiefdom is in the South County. It is the richest fiefdom except for your fiefdom. Shang Guanyin looked at him suspiciously. Why did you suddenly tell me this? Yen Shanjun smiled and said. If I don't tell you, how can you agree to take back my royal status? Shang Guanyin said bitterly. You don't want to be my imperial uncle? Yen Shanjun sighed. I was bullied by you since I was a child. It's meaningless to be your imperial uncle. Shang Guanyin whispered. I didn't mean it. Who told you to be so weak? Okay. Yen Shanjun said. What's okay? Shang Guanyin was surprised. Yen Shanjun put the lotus seed soup back in front of her. You like to eat lotus seed soup, but you never eat lotus seeds. Shang Guanyin stared blankly at the lotus seed in the empty cup. I have this problem. She was careless about clothing, food, housing, and transportation. She never cared about such details. When Wu Cixi asked her what she wanted to eat, she casually said lotus seed soup. But when the lotus seed soup was served, she didn't eat it. Is it because she doesn't like the lotus seeds inside? Yen Shanjun smiled and stood up. Your Majesty is busy with state affairs, I'll go first. Shang Guanyin nodded. Yen Shanjun turned and walked out of the imperial study room. When he went out, his footsteps suddenly stopped. Shang Guanyin, the next time we meet, I will not be your imperial uncle. The wedding procession left Chengdu in a grandiose manner. Xian Yuanqi doesn't like to sit in a carriage, he rides a horse. Liao Chen also rides a horse to accompany him. The father and son enjoyed a rare leisurely time after their reunion. The grandfather and grandson of Gu family and Tang Yueshan, who originally wanted to ride a horse, had to sit in a carriage at this time. Tang Yueshan's face was bruised and swollen. There was a big bump on his head. His left arm was wrapped in a bandage and hung around his neck. His face was covered with a pink page band-aid, and his left nostril was stuffed with cotton. It can be said that he was very miserable. He said with grievance, "I just told the truth. Look at how you beat me up. So many people ganged up to bully me. You don't have any morals." Gu Qingfeng coldly snorted. "You deserve it." Hiss. As soon as his voice fell, he gasped in pain. His situation was not much better than Tang Yueshan's. After his grandfather learned that he was the great thief Fei Shuang, he severely beat him up. He was also covered with bruises and bandages. Gu Chongqing was different. He hadn't been beaten or punished, but his faith had collapsed. He sat on the horse carriage in a daze, like a puppet that had lost its soul. The old marquis glared at the three of them in exasperation, and silently covered the gauze on his head. He was also injured. It was so embarrassing that he slipped and fell in a hurry to leave the scene. His forehead hit the doorsill, and his head almost split open. In the whole thing, the only one who was not embarrassed was probably Gu Jiao. She was not affected by the horse at all. She sat in the carriage leisurely and counted the gold that Dukin gave her. "Are these all mine?" She held a small box and looked at the 9 small boxes on the floor. Dukin smiled dotingly. "Yes, they are all yours." Gu Jiao was very happy. She concentrated on counting the gold. Dukin looked at her gently. The afternoon sun shone in through the open window. It was quiet and beautiful in the carriage. The road after spring was easier to travel than in winter. After a long journey of a month, the group finally arrived at the capital of the Zhao Kingdom. This was not just an ordinary marriage. It was also the first marriage between the two kingdoms. Xian Yuanqi, Dukin, and Liao Chen went to the Zhao Kingdom as envoys of the Yan Kingdom. Their whereabouts along the way were sent to the palace by the courier stations. The emperor of the Zhao Kingdom was very excited. This was the first visit from the Yan Kingdom. He attached great importance to it. He ordered people to go out of the city early to welcome them, and set up a welcome banquet in the palace. When the news spread to the Vermilion Bird Avenue, Princess Xinyang was practicing calligraphy with Shang Guanqing in the courtyard. Shang Guanqing finally experienced his mother's strictness. 10 copybooks a day. He was not allowed to eat until he finished practicing. Marquis Xianping was playing with his daughter in the courtyard. Xiao Yi was 5 months old. She had just learned to turn over a few days ago. She was lying on the big bamboo bed, giggling because of her father. "What did you say? The envoys of the Yan Kingdom are here? Then, the people from the Duke's mansion are here too?" Princess Xinyang looked at the guard who reported to her at the door. She knew that Gu Jiao lived in the Duke's mansion. The guard cupped his hands. "Princess, Dukin and the young master of the Duke's mansion are here. Tenli Hongzhuang is also here." Princess Xinyang was stunned. "What young master? Tenli Hongzhuang?" The guard had just heard the news from the courier station. He glanced at the nonchalant Marquis Xianping and braced himself to say, "It said that the Marquis sent people to propose marriage to the young master of the Duke's mansion. The Duke agreed to the marriage and brought his son to marry the young master. Now the whole capital is saying that the young master is going to marry a man." Princess Xinyang looked at Marquis Xianping and snapped the brush in her hand. Xiaoji. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1050343347. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. Chapter 910. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that cannot be found online are all available here. She was just wondering why he did not make her angry these past few days. He thought that after having a daughter, he would really become a proper and loving father. But look at what he had done. Xiaoji was so quiet. She must be up to something. Sheng Guanqing looked at the broken brush, and his eyes widened. No way, is the princess's mother so fierce? Marquis Xianping gently coughed and calmly said, "What are you calling this marquis for?" Princess Xianyang's entire body trembled with anger. "Look at what you've done. When did you go behind my back to propose marriage to the Duke's Manor's young master?" "Young master? What do you take Ahing for?" Marquis Xianping's teeth hurt. The Duke's Manor's young master was Gu Jiao. There was nothing wrong with him going to propose marriage to Gu Jiao for his son. He had just been a little mischievous, and the average person would not take advantage of him. They would marry Gu Jiao off as the daughter of a wealthy family. The one surnamed Jing. "Did you play around so much?" Princess Xianyang's anger continued. "This is great. The entire world knows that Ahing is going to marry a man." She glanced at the inkstone on the table. Sheng Guanqing's eyelids twitched, and he quickly reached out to press down on the inkstone. Princess Xianyang gritted her teeth and changed to grabbing the stone on the table. Sheng Guanqing nimbly pressed down on the stone. Princess Xianyang went to grab the whip on the stone bench. Sheng Guanqing rushed over and pressed down on the whip. Princess Xianyang was furious. "Xiaoqing, get out of my way. Do you also want to be beaten?" Sheng Guanqing glanced at his father and hesitated for a moment before silently getting out of the way. Marquis Xianping. Princess Xianyang grabbed the whip. "Eugene, carry Yi back to her room." Eugene secretly shook her head and walked over to the father and daughter pair. Marquis Xianping naturally would not sit and wait for death. Moving his body, he used his qinggong to rush out. Princess Xianyang became even angrier. She clenched her fists. Xiao Yi flipped over on the bamboo bed and lay flat, reaching out her fair and tender little arms towards Princess Xinyang. "Princess!" Eugene turned to look at her. Princess Xinyang sighed helplessly. She handed the whip to Sheng Guanqing and walked over to pick up the little fellow on the bamboo bed. Xiao Yi grabbed her collar, buried her head, and started to look for milk. Princess Xinyang looked at the little guy who had made a move herself. She was both angry and amused. Her anger immediately decreased by half. Little clever. The team of envoys from the Yan Kingdom left the courier station and arrived at the West City Gate in the evening. Outside the city gate, the officials of the Zhao Kingdom had been waiting for a long time. The leader was a young man in a red official robe. In the country of Zhao, the robes of 9th rank sesame officials were cyan, 7th rank and above were green, 5th rank and above were red, and only 3rd rank officials were allowed to wear purple official robes. This man was very young. He looked no more than 20 years old, but he was already a 5th grade martial artist. He wore a black gauze hat, his skin was like jade, and his face was exquisite. He had a jade-like noble temperament, and he didn't seem inferior when standing beside a 1st rank official. When the team got closer, Grand Secretary Yuan raised his hand at him, indicating that he should go greet them. He nodded and walked to the front of the team of Yan Kingdom's envoys. He first cupped his hands at Xian Yuanqi, who was at the front. Grand Marshal. Then he cupped his hands at Xian Yuanzheng. Crown Prince Xian Yuan. Liaochen was wearing armor and a helmet, so no one could see his bald head. Otherwise, who knew how many people would be frightened when he called him Crown Prince? The father and son looked at the young man in front of them. A trace of surprise flashed through their eyes. Was it because he was a crown or because he had changed into an official robe? He seemed to be more mature. "Who are you? What are you here for?" Xian Yuanqi asked in a tone. He looked at the first carriage in front of the team and said with a deep gaze, "Xiao Heng of Marquis Xuanping's mansion is here to welcome my fiancée." As soon as he said this, the atmosphere immediately changed. The Black Wind Cavalry didn't know that Gu Jiao was a girl. They all muttered disdainfully, "What fiancé? Our young commander is a man. Hey, Wenrencheng, don't you think this Xiao Heng looks a bit familiar? Have you seen him somewhere before? Wenrencheng said. The emperor's grandson. What? Zhao Dingfeng asked. He looks like the emperor's grandson, Wenrencheng said. Except he doesn't have that mole on his face. Zhao Dingfeng's jaw almost dropped. No way. Our emperor's grandson? No. He's a prince now. He came to Zhao country to be a young marquis? What's going on? Wenrencheng said indifferently. You ask me? Who should I ask? They and Li Shen were the few people who weren't surprised that the young commander was going to marry a man. After all, they had seen the young commander flirting with the emperor's grandson in the army camp. Sigh, what a good young commander. He could get any woman he wanted, but he just had to like men. The carriage's curtains were tightly shut. They could only hear the youth's clear and bright voice from inside the carriage. Who is your fiancé? Xiao Heng stared at the carriage's curtains without blinking, as if he was looking through the curtains at the woman inside the carriage. It's the person sitting inside the carriage. I am the only one in the carriage. I am a man. Have you thought it over clearly? Do you really want to marry me? Xiao Heng said without any hesitation. I'll marry you. I'll marry you even if the mountains collapse and the earth cracks. It doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman, you are still my Xiao Heng's wife. Under the carriage's canopy, the hollow wind chimes gently swayed in the breeze, melodious like a young girl's voice. Grand Secretary Yuan closed his eyes. His hands were tucked into the wide sleeves of his robe. It's over, it's all over now. His newly promoted cabinet pillar had the matter of marrying a man's wife. So many officials and commoners had heard about it. There was no way to clear this matter. Xiao Heng, oh Xiao Heng, for the sake of marrying a wife, you're even going to disregard your own official reputation? Sigh. Grand Secretary Yuan couldn't bear to watch. Hua. The carriage's curtains were moved aside. A slender figure walked out with a bow. She was dressed in a green corded long skirt. Her slender waist could be grasped with one arm, long hair reaching her waist. Her head of supple black hair was like satin. A single finger was tied into a single bun, the green hair band fluttering about in the wind. Her facial features were exquisite and beautiful, the left side of her face having a vermilion birthmark. Everyone was stupefied. Black Wind Cavalry and Dark Shadow Division's eyeballs almost popped out. It can't be right? Were their eyes playing tricks on them? Why did the young lady in front of them have the exact same face as their young commander? This can't be real. Wenrencheng was the calmest, but right now, even he couldn't hold himself back. He got off his horse and arrived in front of the carriage, moving aside the curtains. The inside of the carriage was completely empty. There wasn't a second person. That was why she was the young commander. She was a woman. The young commander who had fought with them for so long was actually really a woman? The young commander had suffered so much with them at such a young age. It was already shocking and distressing enough. Who would have thought that she was actually a young lady? When we crossed the ice lake, she was the first to jump into the water. I stepped on her shoulder to cross it. When we attacked Puching, she took a kick for me. That kick landed on her stomach. We ignored her. I scolded her. What about you guys? Everyone clutched their chests. Damn it. So cruel. So painful. I even asked her to go to the forest to pee. A Black Wind Cavalry soldier said weakly. His companions all looked at him. His body trembled. No, I didn't know she was. She was what? I'll beat you up. The poor soldier was beaten up just like that. Sigh, this girl. Liao Chen turned his face away. He didn't want to look anymore, okay? She spoiled her fiancé so much. Wasn't she afraid that she would be disobedient after marrying him? Gu Jiao came in front of Xiao Heng. She raised her eyes slightly and looked at his deep eyes. Long time no see, fiancé. Xiao Heng tucked her hair that was messed up by the wind behind her ears and smiled gently. Long time no see, fiancé. The officials from both sides went through the formal greetings process. The old chancellor said that the emperor of Zhao country had set up a welcome banquet in the palace and invited all the envoys to the palace. Dukan and the old chancellor went first. Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng brought Xianyuan Qi and Liao Chen to Little Jingkong Inn by Shui Alley. The alley was full of lights. Sixth aunt was sitting on the threshold feeding her little grandson. When she turned her head and saw Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao, her eyes lit up. Lulang. Jiao Jiao. Xiao Heng greeted. Aunt Lu. Gu Jiao smiled. Aunt Lu. Aya. Cui. Jiao Jiao is back. Aunt Lu shouted into the house and said to Gu Jiao. I heard that you went to visit your relatives. Why did you take so long? Lulang and the others are back. You haven't come back yet. Come in and sit for a while. Who are they? She saw Liao Chun and Xian Yuanqi in armor under the twilight. Xian Yuanqi said politely, I'm Jiao Jiao's granduncle. He is my son Zheng. Aunt Lu looked at them without blinking. They were good-looking, but one was a little older and the other was a little younger. She stopped looking at them and pulled her little grandson's wrist. Huzi, greet her. It's your sister Jiao Jiao. The 3-year-old Huzi didn't recognize Gu Jiao anymore. He hid behind Auntie Lu. At this moment, Aunt Lu's daughter Cui came over and invited them into the house. Gu Jiao declined and said that she would come another day. Aunt Lu smiled considerately. That's true. Everyone at home misses you. You should go back quickly. Jiao Jiao is back. Uncle Zhao's house door was pulled open and Aunt Zhao walked out. Gu Jiao greeted her with a smile and asked her how the salted eggs were and if she finished eating the pickled vegetables. Xian Yuanqi looked at Gu Jiao with a hint of surprise in his eyes. She was able to get along with people. She was so lively. Big brother always wanted to see her like this. Finally, they came to the door of their house. The renovated door was ajar. At this time, the men at home should have come back from school. Gu Jiao deliberately didn't say anything and knocked on the door. Very young footsteps came from the yard. Then Gu Xiaobao, who had just learned how to walk, peeked out from the crack of the door. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1050333964. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. Chapter 911. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. He only stuck out his round little head. He was too short and was only a little taller than the door sill. He raised his head with great effort. A child's head was heavy and this action made his already unstable body wobble. Finally, he fell on his butt. However, he did not fall to the ground. Instead, he was caught by a soft hand in time. Gu Jiao bent down and gently carried him up with both hands. Looking at the face that was almost carved from the same mold as Gu Yan's, Gu Jiao gasped in surprise. This small nose, small mouth, small face, it was practically a small version of Gu Yan. This human child was too cute. She wanted to pinch it. Children were very fragile. Gu Jiao resisted the urge to pinch his face and only used her index finger to poke his little face. Both sides touched. It was so soft that her heart melted. Do you still remember me? Gu Jiao asked him with a smile. Gu Xiaobao stared blankly at Gu Jiao. He clearly did not remember. Gu Jiao nodded. That's right. When I left, you were only 5 months old. In the blink of an eye, you're already a year old. Gu Xiaobao couldn't understand what she was saying. His eyes were wide and round as they rolled around. Gu Jiao turned and said to Xian Yuanqi and Liao Chen, my younger brother, Gu Xiaobao. Io. At the end of the corridor, Granny Zhou's son was carrying a few bags of rice home. One of the bags fell down. I'll go take a look. Xiao Heng said to Gu Jiao. Okay. Gu Jiao nodded. Xiaobao, Xiaobao. Yao Shi's voice came from the corridor. Gu Xiaobao heard his mother's voice and twisted his little body, wanting to get down from Gu Jiao's arms. Gu Jiao was worried that he would fall in a hurry, so she simply carried him and pushed open the door to the courtyard. Yao Shi immediately saw her daughter who had returned home. She was wearing a long green dress, and her figure was elegant. Her skin was a bit darker than before, and her facial features had developed. There was a bit more of a valiant and heroic aura between her brows, making her even more beautiful than before. In Yao Shi's eyes, her daughter would always be the most beautiful. She looked at her daughter whom she had not seen for more than a year, and was so excited that the tip of her nose suddenly turned sour. Mother, mother. Gu Xiaobao reached his hand out to her. She turned around and wiped her reddened eyes. Smiling, she walked towards Gu Jiao and took Gu Xiaobao in her arms. When did you come back? She was referring to when they would arrive at Jade Water Alley. She had more or less learned about what had happened to Gu Jiao in the Yan Kingdom from Xiaoheng and Gu Yan. She also knew that she would return to the capital with the Yan Kingdom's envoy today. But she heard that there was a banquet in the palace, and thought that Gu Jiao would enter the palace first and return home after the banquet. Gu Jiao said, "We just arrived. I knocked on the door and Xiaobao came out." Yao Shi looked at her son in amusement. "Normally, you would be too lazy to go out. What happened today? Did you know that older sister is back? Did you especially open the door for older sister? Did you call older sister?" Gu Xiaobao dove into Yao Shi's embrace. Yao Shi could not hold back and laughed. She said to Gu Jiao, "He's shy." Gu Jiao poked his little, but that was sticking up. Gu Xiaobao's little face was still buried in Yao Shi's embrace. He raised his little hand and reached behind his little butt, clumsily trying to pry away Gu Jiao's fingers. Gu Jiao laughed loudly. "That's right, I brought 2 guests over." After poking enough, Gu Jiao invited Xianyuan Qi and Liao Chen into the courtyard. She said to Yao Shi, "Yan Kingdom's Grand Marshal Xianyuan, Jing Kong's granduncle. This is his son, Crown Prince Xianyuan, Jing Kong's uncle." After saying that, she introduced Yao Shi to the two. "This is," she paused. Yao Shi glanced at her, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. She said to the two in a gentle voice, "I am Jiao Jiao's mother." "Madame Gu." The father and son cupped their hands and greeted her. As they spoke, the Xianyuan family's carriage arrived. The servants carried a few boxes from the carriage. They were the gifts for their visit. "We're all family. There's no need to be so formal," Yao Shi said. "It's just a small token of appreciation. Please accept it," Liao Chen said. Gu Jiao held Yao Shi's arm and said softly, "Accept it." Since her daughter had said so, Yao Shi could only accept it. She looked at the father and son with a pleasant expression. "You've come to see Jing Kong, right?" Jing Kong, Yan and Xiaoshan went to the orchard to pick fruit. They've been gone for a while and should be back soon. Come in and have a cup of tea first. The father and son obeyed and entered the room with Yao Shi. "Ha! You came over from the city gate. Did you run into Ahing?" Yao Shi asked Gu Jiao. Liao Chen thought to himself, "Did I just run into her?" There was also a basin full of dog food. "My stomach is still full." Gu Jiao said, "We came back together. He went to Granny Zhou's house to help." Yao Shi was gratified. That's good, that's good." Granny Fong was not present today, and Yuya had gone to buy spices. Yao Shi could not take care of the child on her own, so she invited a maidservant and a cook. The cook was currently cooking in the kitchen, and the maidservant was called Yuan Yang. Yuan Yang has been here for a year. She is quite nimble. Yao Shi said to Yuan Yang, "Pour tea for the eldest young miss and the guest." When Yuan Yang heard this address, she understood Gu Jiao's identity and hurriedly brewed tea. Gu Xiaobao continued to hide in Yao Shi's embrace, but he would occasionally sneak a peek at Gu Jiao. If he found that Gu Jiao was also looking at him, he would quickly turn his head and bury himself in Yao Shi's embrace. The sky outside was dark, and Yao Shi could not clearly see the two's appearances. There was an oil lamp in the room. Yao Shi's gaze fell on Liao Chen's face and suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "I've seen you before." Liao Chen looked at her in surprise. "Oh." Yao Shi had no intention of offending him, but to verify that her eyes were not playing tricks on her, she looked at him a few more times. Then she said with certainty, "That's right, I've seen you before." It was at the temple near Qingchuan village. You were a monk in the temple. I remember. The abbot called you junior martial brother. Liao Chen switched to monk mode in a second and performed a Buddhist salute with one hand. He calmly said, Umitba, so benefactor Yao has seen this poor monk before. Yao Shi was shocked. She did not understand what was going on. Was he the heir of Yan or a monk in a temple? After Xiao Heng and Gu Yan returned home, they told Yao Shi about their experiences in Yan, but most of it revolved around Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao explained, It's a long story. Heir Xianyuan is the uncle of Jing Kong, and also the master of Jing Kong. Back then, they had both become monks in that temple. Yao Shi suddenly understood. So it's like that. The heir of a superior country actually went to a lower country to become a monk. Many things must have happened. Yao Shi understood, but she did not want to get to the bottom of it in this kind of situation. The four of them did not sit for long before three young men came back with baskets. Jiaojiu. Little Jing Kong was the first to cross the threshold. He immediately saw Gu Jiao in the main room. He carried the small basket and ran over. He threw himself into Gu Jiao's arms. Jiao, you're finally back. I missed you so much. Xianyuan Qi sat diagonally across from Gu Jiao. When little Jing Kong shouted Jiao for the first time, he looked over at him. Was this little sixth child? His voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. Xianyuan Qi was like a withered tree that was suddenly rejuvenated. His eyes were shining as he stared at little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong only had eyes for Gu Jiao. He did not notice him and did not notice Liao Chen who was beside him. Liao Chen's mouth twitched. Little stinky monk, I've been your master for so long. You can't even see me? Jiao, did you miss me? Little Jing Kong said coquettishly. I missed you, Gu Jiao said. Only then did little Jing Kong raise his head in satisfaction. He greeted Yao Shi and Gu Xiaobao, benefactor Yao Xiaobao. At this moment, Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan also entered the room. Older sister. Older sister. The two of them called out at the same time. They did not expect to see Gu Jiao at home. The two of them pinched each other. It was painful. They were not dreaming. Jiao was really back. Unlike the little monk, they noticed the guests in the room. Yao Shi smiled and introduced them. This is Jing Kong's great-uncle Marshal Xianyuan. The other one is the son of the marshal. You can call him Crown Prince Xianyuan. The two of them had never seen Liao Chen in the country of Yan, let alone Xianyuan Qi who was at the border. However, they knew the Xianyuan family. Even the marshal of the Xianyuan family was in their house. The two of them looked at Xianyuan Qi who was sitting there like a small mountain. They could feel the invincible aura of an army. Gu Yan wow. Gu Xiaoshan. Wow. Gu Xiaobao repeated. Wow. Jing Kong, your master is here. Gu Jiao reminded little Jing Kong who was lying in his arms and did not want to get up. My master didn't come. Little Jing Kong pouted and said without turning his head, he's so lazy. How can he come? As soon as he finished speaking, a slender hand reached over and lifted him up. The voice said dangerously, Who are you calling lazy? Gu Xiaobao, lazy. Little Jing Kong looked at Liao Chen and rolled his eyes. Xiaobao is lazy. Gu Xiaobao. Xiaobao is lazy. After repeating, he waved his hand and emphasized seriously, Xiaobao is not lazy. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/10501450. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. Chapter 912. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more interesting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that cannot be found online are available here. Yao Shi lowered her head to look at her son in her arms and guided him. If Xiaobao is not lazy, then what is Xiaobao? Gu Xiaobao spread his fingers and patted his small chest. Xiaobao is smart. Everyone in the room was amused by him. Gu Jiao looked at Gu Xiaobao curiously. You're already so good at talking. When I left, Xiaobao only knew how to cry. Yao Shi smiled. He's 1 year and 8 months old. He walked late and was only willing to stand up when he was 1 year and 2 months old. It was only last month that he completely let go of himself and walked. But he did speak early. He called his mother for the first time when he was 11 months old. She remembered that Yan and Jin Yu only spoke when they were 1 year old. She just did not know Jiao Jiao. Thinking about how her daughter grew up in the countryside and how she knew nothing about her, Yao Shi felt guilty and uncomfortable. Little Jing Kong drooped his head in despair. Shifu put me down. I'm dizzy because of you. When did Shifu shake you? He carried him and did not even move, okay? Little Jing Kong sighed. Shifu, you're too handsome. Of course I'm dizzy because of your beauty. Liao Chen. Everyone. Yao Shi knew that Xian Yuanqi and his son were going to reunite with Jing Kong. She carried Gu Xiaobao and stood up, saying to the two, I'll go to the kitchen to take a look. Then she gave Gu Xiaoshan and Gu Yan a look. We'll go too. Gu Yan understood and pulled Gu Xiaoshan, who was still worshipping the Grand Marshal, to the backyard. Yuan Yang, you come too. Yao Shi called for Yuan Yang. Yes, madam. Yuan Yang put down the cut fruits and followed Yao Shi out of the main room. The noisy room instantly quieted down. Before coming, Xian Yuanqi, Gu Jiao, and Liao Chen discussed reuniting with little Jing Kong. Between hiding from him and telling him, the three of them unanimously chose the latter. Jing Kong was not an ordinary child. He was precocious, intelligent. At the same time, he also had a very sensitive heart. From the time he was born to the age of 3, he had been abandoned more than once. Gu Jiao remembered the first time they had met and talked. It was when he had packed his little bundle and was about to go down the mountain to be adopted. However, that family had changed their mind and didn't want him anymore. Gu Jiao could still feel the loneliness of little Jing Kong whenever she recalled the little figure sitting alone on the stone bench. He even thought that his parents didn't want him because they didn't like him. Ever since he was adopted by Gu Jiao, he had inadvertently revealed his cautiousness. He was worried that he would become a burden to Gu Jiao and that he would be sent back. At his age, he had endured things that he shouldn't have. He needed to understand that he had parents who loved him very much. He was a child born under the expectations of his parents. He was not abandoned. Liao Chen put his disciple down. Gu Jiao took his hand and made him look at Xian Yuanqi. She said softly, Jing Kong. That's your granduncle. Granduncle? Little Jing Kong widened his eyes in surprise. Obviously, he didn't quite understand the meaning of this title. Gu Jiao paused and said, He's your father's uncle. Little Jing Kong's eyes widened. I have a father? Gu Jiao touched his little head. Yes, you have a father and a mother who love you very much. Little Jing Kong looked up into Gu Jiao's eyes. Then why don't they want me? Gu Jiao looked at him sincerely. She took a small petal from his head and said softly, They want you, but they're going to a very, very far place. They can't take you with them. Little Jing Kong tilted his head and thought for a while. Just like how they can't take me with them when they go to war in Jiaojiao, right? Xian Yuanqi looked at Gu Jiao nervously. They had planned to make it clear, but now, everyone felt that it was cruel. He was only 6 years old. He shouldn't grow up in the pain of his parents' death. Gu Jiao paused for a moment and nodded slowly. Yes, that's about it. Oh. Little Jing Kong nodded thoughtfully. Xian Yuanqi secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Why don't you lie to him? What's the use of lying to him? A failure is a failure. White lies are the most boring thing in the world. She had really changed a lot. With compassion, one would be able to empathize with the emotions of others and change one's own principles. Little Jing Kong was a very smart child. He had an amazing learning talent, but some things were beyond his knowledge. He couldn't question them. Will they still come to see me? He asked Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao said softly, They can't come. They've asked granduncle to come and visit you. Will you be disappointed? A little. Little Jing Kong scratched his head and said honestly, but since they didn't abandon me, I'll forgive them reluctantly. Gu Jiao curled her lips. Xian Yuanqi and Liao Chen both relaxed. Let him live on with hope in his heart. Little Jing Kong came to Xian Yuanqi and looked at him with his big eyes. He said hopefully, Granduncle, when I grow up, can you take me to see my parents? Xian Yuanqi raised his calloused hand and carefully placed it on his head. His throat was swollen and painful, and his arm was trembling slightly. He smiled and said, Okay. Granduncle, my name is Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong introduced himself seriously. Xian Yuanqi looked at him, as if he was looking at little Six when he was a child. His eyes reddened unconsciously. How old are you? Little Jing Kong stuck out his chest. I'm 9 years old. Liao Chen looked at him speechlessly. Little Jing Kong said, Okay, I'm 3 years old. Little Six was weak when he was young, and he always liked to pretend to be older. Xian Yuanqi looked at him and endured the pain in his throat. He smiled and said, Jing Kong is your Dharma name. You have a name. Little Jing Kong tilted his head and looked at him. Xian Yuanqi finally put down the hand on his head. He stroked the top of his head and hugged him in his wide arms. Your name is Xian Yuanqi. At this moment, Xian Yuanqi didn't know that this quiet and sensible name would make the 7 kingdoms tremble many years later. On the other side, Yao Shi went to the kitchen and ordered the kitchen to make more dishes to entertain the guests. Gu Xiaobao was carried away by Gu Yan. She went back to her room. As she was packing up, there was a knock on the door. The door is open. Come in, she said. It was Gu Jiao who came in. Yao Shi looked at her and was slightly stunned. Jiao Jiao. Gu Jiao put her hands behind her back. She hesitated for a moment and walked to her side. She wanted to say something but stopped. Yao Shi glanced at her and lowered her eyes. Smiling, she said, Are you going to leave after eating? She continued to fold clothes. The light was dim, and it was difficult to see whose clothes she was folding. She calmed herself down and endured the bitterness in her heart. She said, It's okay. Mother knows. I think you might not know. What? I didn't go to the palace because I wanted to bring them to see Jing Kong. Gu Jiao pursed her lips. I wanted to see you. Yao Shi was shocked and looked at her daughter in disbelief. Gu Jiao raised a hand and pointed at her heart. Here. Want. Yao Shi's eyes reddened. She always felt that her daughter was very distant from her. It was not that her daughter did not treat her well, but there seemed to be an invisible barrier between them. She tried to get closer to her daughter. She could feel her daughter's kindness towards her, but she could not enter her daughter's heart. Until now, her daughter had never called her mother. Just now, when she was introducing herself to Grand Marshal Xianyuan, her daughter was stuck. She knew that her daughter could not call her mother, but she did not want to call her madam in front of outsiders and embarrass her. Yao Shi had comforted herself before. Her daughter did not rely on her because she had never raised her daughter. She could silently endure this loneliness. Even if she never called her mother, it was fine. But just now, her daughter said that she missed her. She could no longer suppress her feelings. Tears welled up in her eyes. Jiao Jiao. Mother doesn't know what to do. I don't know how to make you call me mother. Mother. Gu Jiao called her. Yao Shi looked at Gu Jiao in disbelief. She was completely stunned. It's not that I don't like you. Gu Jiao said. I had a bad experience, so I can't call you that. What bad experience? Yao Shi's heart clenched. She thought of Gu Jinyu's birth parents. It's not third Gu and his wife. Gu Jiao did not want to say more. All right, mother won't ask. Yao Shi choked with tears. Then why is it okay now? Gu Jiao said. I don't know, but it's okay. The unbearable past from her previous life seemed to be being healed by something. Was it Jing Yining? Was it Gu Jiao's mother? Or was it her who had been abandoned as a monster by no one after losing control? She could not answer. Human emotions were too complicated. She could not understand them. But she did what her intuition told her. She did not know if she was doing the right thing. Then, Do you like it when I call you that? Gu Jiao sat on the stool. She did not move at all, except for her eyes. The young killing god who had caused people to tremble with fear on the battlefield was now like a child waiting for the right answer. Yao Shi laughed. Her tears turned into laughter. She walked over and pulled her daughter into her embrace. I like it. Mother likes it very much. Can you call me mother again? Gu Jiao was hugged tightly by her, and one of her cheeks was pressed into a pulp. She pouted and said, Mother. This was the most beautiful voice in the world. Yao Shi's heart melted. All of her pain was healed. She smiled through her tears and hugged her daughter even tighter. Hey! Again, say it again. Gu Jiao, whose small mouth had been squashed out of shape. Sheep. Digression. Yao Shi. This book's newest chapter is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/10501444. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com BQG's mobile reading website. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.